that is actually from this dimension. And it's funny because I was on Lee Triana Brown's show on Monday night, and it was one of the questions she asked me about my beliefs of the paranormal. And we did actually tip into cryptozoology a little bit. And she said, do you think what we're seeing is of this dimension, or could it be of a different dimension? I said, well, I've always believed that we had interdimensional travelers. And my greatest example of that would be the Mothman. I said, I never believed that Mothman, or what they called Mothman, was something that was rooted in this dimension. I also don't believe it's from outer space. And I also don't believe it's a ghost. I do 1,000% believe it is a dimensional traveler. And it's able to phase back and forth between dimensions. And I'm going to be very honest with people. I think it has to do with, in some ways, solar activity thinning out our magnetosphere. Because even though they like to scare you with their whole climate agenda thing, and get you all panicking that with the solar flares and everything, solar flares have been happening since the beginning of time, and every time they happen, every time we get belted with one, it thins out the magnetosphere a little bit, and it causes ripples in the frequencies that actually naturally emit from and surround our planet. When those frequencies are not at their normal levels, I think that creates a weakness, which may allow certain things to come through and go back. I also can't for sure say that civilizations that pre-existed humanity didn't have knowledge of the Einstein-Rosen wormhole, that they didn't know exactly where they might naturally exist on this planet, or they may have created them, and that could have been what collapsed their civilization. You just don't know. But I do know there's a lot of knowledge that goes back into ancient times that is really hard to explain through science, even currently. But it is scientific. So it's just one of those questionable things. But getting back to Florida, as I was telling Mark, we've had like this rash of Bigfoot sightings. And by the way, folks, we don't call Bigfoot here in Florida. We call it skunk ape. There's a really good reason for that. And I'm going to suggest the fact that when Bigfoots are big, do we call them Bigfoots or big feet? Huh. That's a good question. I'm kind of liking big feet.
It's like deer. It's Bigfoot.
Deer. Yeah. Bigfoot. What? Come on, big feet is more fun.
I'm telling you, it's just like deer. Bigfoot.
Anyway, I'm thinking with the skunk ape, because Florida is such a hot and humid environment. And with humans, I think it might be the female that's probably emitting the odor. Could be the males, but I'm thinking probably the female. Only because when females start getting hormonal, they emit a glandular scent, a pheromone. And to an ape, that scent, I mean, put it this way, it's not always a pleasant scent for humans. Hey, there you go. But it does attract a certain type. And I think that might be what odor people get with the skunk ape. But I can tell you, I myself, when I was up on the we were up doing some boating up near Crystal River, which is on the west northern coast of Florida, on the Gulf of Mexico. And we were in the area called the wetlands. I smelled what they were talking, and I think I told you, Mark, the guys that were working the boat were saying, oh God, it's a skunk ape. But trust me, that smell whipped my head around immediately. I was like, what the hell is that smell? And I mean, I've lived in Florida since 1976. I've been down here a long time. So I know what a skunk smells like. I can tell you what scat smells like. Literally, even bobcats, the wilder cats down here, you can smell them. They have a very distinctive odor. I have never smelled anything like that. And it's definitely appropriate. The whole skunk thing, yep, definitely appropriate, except it smells worse than a skunk. It is one hard thing on your nostrils. But the guys, again, that were working the boats were 1,000%, like, there was no doubt in what they were saying, and I found that really, really interesting. I mean, it was just, oh, it's a skunk ape. okay, we need to get this stuff in and tied down. There's definitely a skunk ape nearby. And here's the thing. These guys had no idea that I had any curiosity into that area at all. How would they? They were working at dock. I was out on the river all day with my brother-in-law, my husband, and our family. So these guys, we had just pulled the boat into their docks area. So they had literally no way of knowing who I was or what I did or that the fact that that was going to make my head rip around. I mean, I remember looking at Raphael, my husband, and saying, I can't even believe that they're actually talking about this out loud, and it's just a given. I said they look a little nervous, a little unnerved, but nothing like they're not panicking. They're just making sure they're tying everything down correctly so they can get out of that area. So apparently they were expecting something to be close by once that sun was fully set. And considering the area, that's a big fishing area. So I'm assuming that whatever it was that they thought was coming, I mean, they kept saying skunk ape. It could have been a bear. We have, in fact, again, I was telling Mark, we actually have a black bear population down here. The only thing that makes that kind of crazy, because again, black bear and Bigfoot sightings are kind of synonymous. A lot of people mistake black bear for Bigfoot because the black bear is capable of standing pretty much fully erect. And when they get moving, oh yeah, they're quite fast. But yeah, it doesn't quite fit the whole Bigfoot description because Bigfoot, by everything I have ever read, is more like an ape than it is a bear. At least by description. Every description I've ever read. Have I personally ever seen one? Nope. Nope, nope, and nope. Do I want to see one? I'm not sure I do. After I smelled what I smelled. But I think maybe for the sake of argument of saying, yeah, I saw it, I'm pretty sure they exist. But yeah, I've always heard that Bigfoot was closer resemblance to an ape than it was to a bear. Mark, have you heard any differently than me? Because I've always heard it was closer to an ape.
You're right. And the one thing about Bigfoot and bears might be able to take one or two steps forward, but it's going to look herky and jerky because that's not how they walk. All right. But Bigfoot, when they take a stride, it's a big stride from what I've gathered.
Well, it's because bears have a much longer torso. It goes down to pretty much where the knee would be almost. So a bear is like, their legs are really short. I mean, they're meant to be on all fours. They're not meant to be upright. So the only reason bears actually go upright is to forage. And again, people don't realize that because they're not carnivores. They're omnivores. They eat both plant and meat. So they're like humans. They're omnivores. But it's funny because, like I've said, I have seen bears that could move quite well on their two legs, completely upright. But 90% of the time, those animals were trained to do that. And they were in captivity for years doing that. In the wild, I've actually seen bears down here in the wild, and I have never seen one even get up on its twos. They're usually running like hell to get away from whatever it is that's disturbing them. But generally speaking, yeah, and they're not even upright. Our bears range anywhere between, I'd say, 200 and 400 pounds. So even upright, they're not going to have the stature of what Bigfoot is said to be. Because you forget, Bigfoot not only has supposedly a very large foot, but it's a very large creature. I mean, 8 to 9 feet by all descriptions. Very long hair, 8 to 9 feet, which actually does, again, that fits maybe more the gorilla or an ape. But it's hard because, again, even if you go with gorilla or ape, they're another group that does not move really fast upright, not without hunching down in one arm in support when they're at a full run. So that whole bipedal thing is kind of what has me a little like on edge with, is it or isn't it? Could they exist or maybe they don't exist? But again, historically speaking, it goes back centuries. It's like Nessie. The Loch Ness monster, which people can sit and say it's BS all they want, and trust me, the surgeon's photo didn't help things in that regard. But honestly, these talk of a creature in Loch Ness goes back centuries. It's not a few years, it's not a few decades, it is multiple hundreds of years of sightings. And it's kind of the same with Bigfoot. If you talk to the Native American tribes, it's actually something sacred to them. And as long as their history goes, these creatures have been sighted. Even Jack, one of Jack's favorite things is Dogman. Dogman is another thing, although Dogmen are considered amongst the group of that are defined as skinwalkers. So, in other words, how do I describe a skinwalker to you?
Actually,
a skinwalker.
Jack's declared him in like 3 different categories. One, a spiritual. Another being an actual animal. Another being something that was created in a lab.
Yeah.
And
I'm with him on that.
And the last is I forget what it was, but Jack has some good idea, and we talked a little bit about that with Vic, and even Vic, like, hey, there's some really weird things with the Dogman werewolf, because some can be shapeshifters.
Well, that's and it's very interesting again that Hollywood has kind of pushed that theme. I've always said that to you when governments and the powers that be need a soft sell on something that is kind of I guess you could say, a piece of reality, they'll do it through Hollywood. And they basically drone it into you. So in case anything gets discovered, it's not going to be as much of a shock as it would be if you had never heard it before. And when it comes to Dogman, it's really interesting because I go way far back with Dogman, because I think Jack and I had this conversation on this show where I was talking about Anubis. It's like Anubis was a dog man, a dog god, actually. I mean, it's half jackal, half freaking human. I mean, he's the god of the death, the lord of the underworld.
Oh yeah, that's another thing that Jack got into as well, is the Nephilim, and that's a genetic hybridization of the animals mixed with the animals, and that he believes that could be too.
With Chimera, I know what he's talking about. He's talking about chimeras, where he's got to be on the same. If that's true, then he and I are on the same wavelength when it comes to history, and maybe only a partial representation, I guess you could say, and it's been sold to us as a fantasy or mythology, but it probably wasn't. And I keep saying that because if I look across the multiple pantheons historically, hold on one second. Really? Sorry, my dog is playing with my cat. If I look across multiple pantheons historically, you can see where almost all of them have some type of deity that's half man, half animal. I mean, in current science, we call that a chimera. It's chimera or chimera, however you want to pronounce it. But it's where 2 different sets of DNA sequences are basically placed together, and these things are bred. And I can tell you, Russia was experimenting with that to hell and back during pre-World War II and during World War II. And I believe they were doing it with apes, if I remember correctly. And they were trying to create the strongest soldiers they possibly could. And at the same time, Germany was doing Liebsborn, which was super soldier programs. And again, this is not fantasy. These are facts. These are historical facts. So the whole thought process of these being created, and I have to tell you, it's not natural on any, I guess you could say, foundation, except for maybe the Nephilim thought process. But if I'm going to go Nephilim, I would say that would explain the sightings of angels and stuff like that, winged creatures. That would explain a hybrid with something that was winged, because the Nephilim, some of them were supposed to have had wings. So again, if you want to put it to that particular spectrum, yep, I can go with that. But when it comes to Dogman, we don't really have, amongst the Sumerian texts and the Sumerian pantheon, there's nothing really of a cross or hybrid with a dog. There is in the Egyptian, there is in the Greek. Like I said, if you go culture to culture to culture, you're going to find it in multiple cultures that not preceded the Sumerians. And it makes you wonder, if the Anunnaki existed, what exactly type of experimentations were they doing? Did this come of the Anunnaki? Or did it come of something that the Anunnaki brought with them? Was it more than just the Nephilim? Did the Nephilim consist of more than what was described? Could it have been different types of creatures? Were they from outer space or were they from inner space? You know, all of these questions, like I said, I'm pretty sure Mothman, if it exists, is from inner space. It's interdimensional. And I can't state that any more so. And that comes from knowing all about what occurred. You know, John Keel's infamous story, the Mothman Prophecy. If you read through what exactly occurred in the words of the actual reporter, it deals, I'm telling you, it deals with time jump, interdimensional type deal. I mean, he lost time when he was traveling between D.C. and Point Pleasant, West Virginia. The calls that came from this creature, the almost mechanical, hollow sound of its voice, it tells me it's coming through some type of portal, because they didn't have the tech back then to imitate that sort of stuff. Not yet. It got there after that time. It could have been the government messing with them. Oh yeah, I never take anything away from the government. That is always my go-to backseat driver. Was it the government trying to mess with John? It's very good possibility.
Oh yeah.
But with that, guys, I got to take us out to our first break. Our only break, actually. This is Jack's show. I keep forgetting. Yes, we'll be back in just a few more minutes with the Paranormal Intelligence Agency radio show.
All right, we're on radio break now. Wow. You're fired up tonight. I can't wait to your show now.
Well, and here's the worst part. I have this horrible tickle in my throat. Oh my God. I got to go get another drink, because I just downed like a whole bottle of Powerade.
Okay, give
me 1 second.
We got about 4 minutes.
All right, cool. I'll be right back.
All right. Nancy Planetta sitting in for Jack Carey. Well, we're all fired up tonight. Cryptozoology. That's right. One of the topics that I really like to listen to. Yep. Yeah. Hey there, Sonia, out there in the YouTube land. Don't forget, I see you. Hope everybody out there is still doing great. We got lots more content tonight.
There we go.
Whole lots more content. Nah.
What?
I said there's lots more content tonight. Oh yeah.
Wow, is that a good thing?
Jack, not Jack, but John had Brent interview him earlier tonight. Oh man, what a great interview. And Brent took the whole hour. And
nice.
First hour of the show. And they just did a role reversal. And I tell you what, he hit John with some good questions. I can't wait to get that up and out later too.
Oh boy, I'm not even going to dare to hazard to guess. Especially considering Israel just attacked Lebanon today.
Yeah,
Again.
and hey, this just in: the Strait of Hormuz is closed.
Again.
Hold on, this just in: it's open again.
It's open. Yeah.
Hold
Wait,
on.
Hold on.
No.
Wait. Whoa.
We got a revolving door here.
Wait, they're saying Iran bombed a ship, but wait. The government of Iran is saying it wasn't them.
Oh.
Wait. Now Israel's bombing the snot out of Lebanon because they don't believe in the ceasefire. Wait, what?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. What's going on in Syria?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, because no one's talking about Syria or Turkey right now. What's going on over there?
Yep.
Come on.
Like I said, I don't think it's going to end well for Israel. Just saying, I don't see that happening.
I don't know, but I kind of hope that when this all works out, some new leadership in Israel will be taking over.
That's what I see happening. I think that because again, the protests over there are
massive. I think the people there should be, tired and fed up with Bibi.
Oh, they're protesting him.
Yeah.
By the hundreds of thousands. Like the protests over there are massive right now.
But you don't hear about protests in Iraq or Iran and places like that. But you do in Israel. Go figure.
Yep.
Anyways, we're going to be coming back pretty soon. We're under a minute. Coming up on 30 seconds here. Yep.
Oh, that was fast.
Yeah, this show goes super fast. Jack's like, we're done already? I'm like, oh, yeah.
Jack. I miss him.
I really do too. Got to take care of family, and this is what we do.
Oh, yeah.
We take care of family here, and we fill in where we can, And I would rather go with live than, Memorex. Here's your countdown, Nance. Yep. Look out, cats, dogs, and kids. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you are live and on the radio side right now.
And welcome back. 8:31 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's right. I'm in a different section of the country than Mr. Jack Carey is. Welcome back, everybody, to the Paranormal Intelligence Agency radio show. I am your hostess, the Wiccan Vixen. I am sitting in for Mr. Carey this evening as he is dealing with some family issues. I get that. Because when I got asked to do that, I literally had to tell our producer, hey, Mark, I got to go run and let my daughter's absolutely beastly dog out before I get back. Hopefully I'll be back in time. If I'm not, well, start without me and I'll join. But
well, we have that with Jack sometimes, too, with Daisy and the Sundance Kid, down in the missile silo.
Yep, I get it. But like I said, it's always a pleasure, always an honor to sit in for Jack. I prefer sitting in with Jack because he is just a wealth of knowledge that I love to dig through and run around in and learn as much as I possibly can. But again, I love hosting his show, and I love doing the homework for this show. Like I was saying to Mark, I was kind of excited because I knew we'd had Bigfoot sightings here in Florida very recently. And, of course, the ones that we got recently were in the Green Swamp Wilderness area, which is, it's actually a forest, but it's in kind of the middle of the state, not too far from Orlando. It's in an area called Polk County. Those of you who are familiar with Florida might know Polk County because we have a really infamous sheriff in Polk County that is this guy is a riot. Like, he is probably he reminds me of Arapaho. Reminds me of Joe Arapaho quite a bit, except he's probably more brutal than Arapaho is when it comes to being just straightforward. That would be Sheriff Grady Judd. And he's the sheriff that y'all probably have seen reels on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok even. I know they put him up there. He actually dresses up like a Bigfoot sometimes, kind of making fun of it, because he knows his county is #1 in the state for sightings. But he also is the one that basically tells his constituency that, especially if there's been an armed robbery or a violent crime, to arm up and shoot the bastard if they try to get into their house. That is why you have guns. Please use them on this person if he tries to enter your house. And he's also the one that is, he just did one the other day, it had me in stitches laughing. It was actually a pedophilia bust, 240 arrests, and sex crimes and pedophilia. And like four of the workers that were arrested were men posing as women, and really used a lot of editing on editing programs to make their pictures look like women. But when they showed up and got arrested, that is not what they look like. And oh boy, I think his first one, he said it would take a whole lot of a Tylenol the next day to forget that headache. And I was just like, I couldn't, I can't, I love a straight shooter who just says what we're all thinking, and let's go with the whole political correctness thing. And that is kind of what Grady Judd does. Now, again, the fact that he dresses up like a Bigfoot, yes, it is tongue in cheek sometimes. He's actually done like TikTok reels of him interviewing a Bigfoot. But it is said that he actually does believe they have something there in Polk County that can't be explained. He's seen the tracks. He's seen different evidence that, as an investigator, makes it hard for him to define what exactly is there. And like I said, Florida is not all palm trees and beaches, guys. We've got some really dense areas of foliage, really dense. And it's not like the forests up north. Up north, you're dense to where you can't see the sky. Down here, we're dense to where you can't see the ground, which is a totally different type of foliage. And again, we have a massive amount. Our ecosystem's massive. Like, we have wildlife. If it's not indigenous and it gets brought here, it seems to thrive, even though it shouldn't. Literally, everything you can think of: iguanas, monitors, snakes, bobcats. We have panthers. We have monkeys. We have bears. We have sloths. Apparently, there are now sloths that have taken to our trees that just like it here. It's very good for them. It is crazy the amount. And our other thing was, of course, the marine life, where David, in fact, on my other show, I have David Campione, who joins me every Wednesday night, and he also lives in Florida. And we were talking about the 14-foot great white shark that's literally right off my coastline where I'm at, and how strange that is, because we're not cold water here. Like, right now, our water is pretty much a bathtub. And so to see a great white of that size sitting right off the coast, it's like, is she lost? What is she doing this far in? Is she following something in? Was there seismic activity in the middle of the Gulf that maybe pushed her more towards the coastline? Because I guarantee she's trying to get north to like the Apalachicola Bend, which is basically the hook in northern Florida that bends into, I guess, coastal Alabama. It's Pensacola, basically. So, just some really interesting ecosystem. Does it lend for a Bigfoot or a skunk ape, as we call them? Yeah, I could see it happening, because there are areas here that nobody has ever walked through. And again, I don't know if they ever will, because all the stuff you're probably going to step on, and all the things that can kill you that is underneath you. That being said, we also have a lot of sinkholes in Florida, and believe it or not, a lot of cave systems. And I've always said that Polk County is an area that, again, it has a lot of cave systems. If I was a creature and I didn't want to be found, I would go to the place that scares what's looking for me the most. And whether we like it or not, most humans are very adverse to caves. We don't like going real deep in a cave. Why? Because you're always afraid something's going to happen and you're not going to be able to get out. It's not really a claustrophobia. It's more of a, I guess you could say, a common sense thing, like, I don't belong here. But when you look at Bigfoot sightings, historically, almost all of them, there's an area there's dense caves nearby. And the other thing about caves, and it's been said for years and years and years and years, and of course the government denies it, but again, caves tend to lead to systems. And I don't know why that is, because some of them are completely unconnected, but you'll find natural, like, tunneling systems that go from one mountainous range or one cave range area to another. Like, they're linked together. And they're not man-made. A lot of them are natural. So did it have to do with the way the North American continent ended up settling? That's possible. I mean, anything's possible. We obviously have fault lines all over the country. Ooh, and that's another thing I wanted to bring up. The fact that there's been some crazy earthquake activity going on. I know Florida, we had, even though the USGS did not report it, it was reported here within local areas within Florida. We had a day last week where we had like 4 seismic events in the state that were over a 2.5, and nobody can explain what they were. We don't have a fault line under the state of Florida. We do have, like I said, a lot of limestone, which leads to, of course, sinkholes. But a sinkhole formation doesn't necessarily and generally cause a seismic trigger. We did have 2 very large successful launches last week. Both SpaceX went up and NASA Artemis went up. So, not Artemis. Sorry, it was one of the other NASA ships that went up, but both of them launched last week. I can tell you that SpaceX was their Falcon Heavy. That is a big rocket. And when that thing launches and lets go, and then her 2 boosters return to Earth and they land on the platforms. When those things are coming down, they're actually coming down faster than the speed of sound. So they break the sound barrier. And what do you think happens when they break the sound barrier? Think about it, guys. I'm a flat state. Not a lot of mountains. In fact, there's no mountains here. Lots of hills, no mountains. And what do you think happens when sound barrier is broken? It like ripples across the state. And yes, it does cause a seismic reaction. It registers on the Richter scale. So, okay, I thought that could explain 1 or 2 of the seismic events, but it doesn't explain the ones that happened. Like, there was one all the way up at the Panhandle, and then there was one all the way down by Miami. Those are areas outside that acoustical, I guess you could say, radius that the rockets from SpaceX and NASA, and actually Amazon also, because Bezos launches his whatever Blue Origin, I'm an idiot ship. Let's just hire a bunch of idiots to say they went to space and look perfect doing it. I can't even go there. Can you tell it makes me mad, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
Leave it to Jeff Bezos to do something like that. But I can also tell you that Amazon in Florida has started delivering with drones. And it's not little drones. These are the big suckers. And it scared the hell. That they started it this past Sunday. It literally scared the hell out of everybody in like Lakeland, Florida, because nobody gave a heads up it was going to start happening. They're calling it 1-hour delivery. And yep, these drones just started appearing in neighborhoods. And after all the crap that happened in New Jersey, and actually in multiple states, over the last, I don't know, what was that, about 6 months ago, when we had all those drone sightings that drones just pick its a car?
About a year or 2.
Well, that's kind of the size of these drones. They're almost as big as like a compact vehicle. They're huge. So imagine if you didn't know. Or imagine if you're like one of what we call the cemetery residents. You know, the people the people that retired down here and are in their 90s and have no clue what technology looks like. Imagine seeing something like that, buzzing itself down the neighborhood street. It's going to scare the pants off you. And giving, again, no heads up to the population. On top of that, they had basically an event with another disappearing scientist. So if people are reading the news, and I kind of think it's very interesting that Trump actually brought that up at a press briefing, the actual missing scientist. And he brought it up to say that, he didn't think there was connected. He wasn't being shown anything that said it was connected. Guys, I got to tell you, I think I'm getting a pretty good beat on this president. I think I've had a pretty good beat on him the last administration. He literally says things to get people to look at it twice. I actually made a meme the other day. Did I drop that in our chat, Mark, the meme I made? Or did I just drop it on Facebook?
I'm not sure, but I didn't know you were a meme maker as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, every once in a while. I watermarked my meme. So it's my meme. But it was basically Donald Trump with this big grin on his face and basically singing Bibi Netanyahu's praises. What a wonderful guy he is. And it's Bibi Netanyahu, like purple in the face, having a heart attack saying, shut up, shut up. Every time you do that, they go to our Wikipedia page. So it's like basically I'm trying to point out to people, this is a definite strategy. You would have to imagine that Trump, because of the way he's been saying things, the way he's been, I guess you could say, twisting kind of what his agenda was into what it supposedly is now. He's forcing people to look at other things. In other words, if he wasn't supportive of Israel right now, nobody, all of the anti-Trumpers wouldn't even be thinking about Bibi Netanyahu. They would never even they wouldn't think twice about Syria getting stomped on and Iran getting, maybe it's not Iran doing the ceasefire or violating the ceasefire. They would not be thinking this way. The reason they're thinking this way is because they're looking for a way to put a hole through Donald Trump. And I think it's hysterical because I'm like, everything he said in his first administration, all the things he fought for that he couldn't get through because everybody was working against him, even the ones who said they supported him, everything he's now getting done in this administration, but it's the left and the anti-Trumpers that are getting it done because he's basically saying things and purportedly supporting things that are causing them to go for the exact opposite of whatever he says. It is the craziest thing. I think I've talked about this on my show. It's craziest logic. But he brings up these scientists and said he didn't think it was actually something that was, in other words, to me, in Trump speak, that means y'all need to start looking at this very seriously because it's going to connect to a lot more information that's coming down the pipe. It's a standard Anon code speak. In fact, we always used to say whenever Trump said something once, twice, three times, didn't matter what he said, you had to pay attention to it and start digging. And you dig, the way you do a dig is you dig both directions. You look for any information you can. And then whatever you can debunk, you debunk. And whatever you're left with, you're left with. And that's how it always works. You have to do it unbiasedly. You cannot dig with I love Trump on your mind or dig with I love Biden. It has to be completely unbiased when you dig. And I always tell people, my favorite rule of thumb, follow the money. The money does not lie. Everything and everybody else does, but not the money. The money trail always goes back to its origin. Even though it can try to lie and hide in shell companies, nope. If you're good at what you do, you're going to be able to track it. And I think Donald Trump is telling us to track these scientists. You know what they were working on, Mark? I promise you I had a segue with this.
Oh, yeah.
They were working on, a lot of them were working in what? Advanced drone technology that dealt with what? In the basically rocket mechanisms. And not only that, things that we could actually probably, not even jumping very far, basically hold in consideration of time travel or dimensional travel.
Yeah, but now, I think the jump that the public will see is either A, to the moon, or B, to Mars.
Mars.
What's that?
It'll be Mars. Actually, it'll be either Mars, it's going to be one of Jupiter's planets. I'm going to be very honest with you from everything I'm reading. Now, I can tell you the blueprints I've looked at. That's not a spaceship. That's not a spaceship with a propulsion system. That is literally, to me, that is a dimensional. Because to me, time travel is almost like dimensional travel. Space would have to fold. You're talking about an Einstein-Rosen bridge that has to be traveled through. And there's a very specific way something a human traveled in, or anything that is a biological life form. It would have to be built a very special, certain type of way so you would not be crushed. And the blueprints I'm looking at, I'm like, oh, that does it. It creates a bubble. Oh, oops. It's the right dimensions, too. Oops. And guess what? Those dimensions actually match. And this is where it gets real fun when it comes to ancient technology. It actually matches what?
Vamana's?
Solomon's what?
Oh.
Solomon's Temple, which are the famous dimensions that the Masons use. The stonemasons. So, again, it's crazy because it all kind of interlinks. And I'm like, how? There's no way that's a coincidence. It's like saying that the Great Pyramids of Egypt are coincidentally lined up the way they are. No. And you'd have to be half-baked and retarded to even suggest that that was a coincidence. It's not. It's really not. Now, what really interests me is that the planet's been moving over the past, since the pyramids were built. The planet's constantly moving. It's moved off its axis several times. I mean, people want to make a big deal about the earthquake in Japan, tilting us, which it did do, by the way. If you notice, the moon looks different. I don't know if anybody else has been paying attention, but if you look at the crescent moon, it's in the wrong freaking place. It's not supposed to be at the bottom of the moon, ever. At least not according to the Farmer's Almanac. And yeah, I am somebody who's read through literally years and years and years of Farmer's Almanacs looking for a crescent moon that had the crescent on the bottom. Yep, nope, couldn't find one. So that's really interesting. But on top of that, it would mean that the position of the stars couldn't possibly be in the same position they were 4,000 years ago. Not if we follow nature. So how the hell do we still get an alignment? How the hell do we still get Stonehenge alignments? Did you guys ever stop to think about that? If we're to believe the space science and astronomy that they teach us and the way things work, none of these sites, these sacred sites, should still be in alignment with the star clusters that they're in alignment with. The solstice shouldn't be in alignment. If the Earth got knocked off its axis by even just the 2009 earthquake, just say that's the only event in history. Forget about, some of the largest volcanic eruptions ever. Forget about that. But, okay, so, yeah, a 9.2 in Japan? And forget the fact that there was a 9.1 in Chile, around the same time. Okay, knock us off our axis a little bit. Dude, the solstice would not still be doing what it does and shining where it does at Stonehenge every year. It doesn't make sense. And what I don't understand is why really, really educated people who came up and noted these patterns of where all these star alignments are have not stopped for half a second and said, well, wait. Ew, that may not actually align correctly. That's not good. Or is it just that they're too proud and arrogant to admit that, they could be off? Or are we in a giant simulation? Because that is the other uncomfortable thought process that comes into being when you start talking about things not lining up the way you were taught they were supposed to line up. All right, guys, with that, I am going to close Jack's show. I hope you enjoyed it because you know what? When I do a show,
we got 2 more minutes, Nance.
Well, because I'm going into my final dialogue, Mark. I'm not shutting it down quickly. I wanted to give myself time. One of the things I love to do, and I know Jack loves to do, is we want to basically spur you to do your own research. Don't believe us. We've been at this, Jack and I, sheepers, creepers, between the two of us, I'd say it's 50, 60 years of combined research. Literally. And we're both very focused into what we do. But that's a lot of time, guys. That's a lot of tenure. So to us, some of these things are just off the top of our heads. We know it. It's card cataloged in our brains. But it's not the same for you guys. And I don't think Jack, or I know I don't think Jack wants this either. We don't want you to have our opinions. We want you to do the homework and, maybe come up with an alternative opinion that's even better than ours. But whatever you do, don't just sit quietly. Why? Because don't say it doesn't affect you guys, because you're obviously finding out with a lot of the disclosures that are happening right now, a lot of things that are coming down the pipe, even down the genetic sciences. 30 years ago, if I spoke, and I did speak about genetic sciences 30 years ago, it was considered quackery. It literally, they told you it was quackery, that it was illegal, it was forbidden, and it was, of course, a giant cover lie for all the scientific stuff they were doing. But they were doing it for profit, not for the betterment of humanity. And when you understand that, that's when you start really getting curious as to exactly what we've been told is true, what have we been told that's a lie. Even shows like Ancient Aliens, the newer shows that are about networks like Gaia, there is an agenda behind a lot of what they're showing. I mean, for me to be able to point out that, hey guys, stars were probably not in the same place they are now, so the fact that the Great Pyramids of Egypt still align with them is very problematic. You would think you would have heard that on shows like Ancient Aliens, the shows that bring you the thought process. You've got, with every thought process, you have to remain to the standard of logic. If this is this, then that must be this. It is just the way, the truth, and the light. All right, guys, for those of you who are hanging on the network, we are going to be on in just about 5 minutes with my show, The Vixen's Vault. And that, of course, I have a whole gaggle of people that are with me with all different opinions. Tonight, I have a guest, Soma. She is from Ireland. I'm hoping she can get on, my little darling. She's one of the sweetest people I've ever met in my life, and I actually have met her in person. So hang in there, guys, and join us for The Vixen's Vault next. If not, join Jack next week for the Paranormal Intelligence Agency radio show, and I'm sure he will be back as his emergency will have been handled. It's been a pleasure being here with y'all, folks. Again, I am the Wiccan Vixen. Have a great evening.
Awesome job, Nance. Awesome job.
Thank you.
I
got it.
Let's give it a minute, and then I got to get clear from TMV Cafe, and once I do that, then I'm going to open yours up and get you going, okay?
Did you look in the thing and see if Soma happened to add herself?
I could not check.
Hang on. I'm trying to check myself now. I couldn't check either while I was on air, so I'm like, sure. I mean, okay. Teams. She is online.
Okay. Let's switch over so that we can kind of guide her from there. All right.
Cool.
All right. Just go ahead and hang up.
I gotta hang up. I gotta go back to where you're at to hang up. So hang on.
All right. Hold on here.
All right. I'll see you over there.
I'll see you on the other side.
All right, my love.
All right. Thanks for filling in for Jack. Coming up is the Vixen's Vault with Nancy Planetta, who headed up Jack's show. So we're going to get her up and going. Hey, David, how's it going?
Hey, Mark, can you hear? Let me turn up the volume. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing good here.
Yes.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you
It's
good.
Nancy. Yeah.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Nancy. Has your friend been able to get in?
I don't see her in here yet.
I just texted her on Facebook. I wasn't able to do it because I was doing Jack's show.
Yeah.
And I don't like to split. Yeah, I don't like to split. I don't want to, because Jack's show, I don't have anybody else that can talk for me while I'm trying to type and figure things out.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, I have to focus on what I'm doing here, and I can't be over on Facebook, farting around.
Yeah.
All right, hang on.
There
Down.
goes
I'm gonna tell it.
Vicky. Vicky's in.
Welcome in, Vic.
How are y'all this evening?
I guess Roger did clear out. I don't see Roger.
Yeah, he was going over. Where was he going over to? A different.
Some
Discord.
Discord or something like that. Yeah, I'm not using Discord.
He's always been on Discord.
Discord.
It really doesn't work for me because it takes over my
soundboard.
It takes over my soundboard, and I can't. No.
Yep.
That's not good. It's not cool.
Well, and Discord is not exactly healthy.
Yeah.
I
Welcome
agree.
in, Mark.
Yeah,
Where's
Mark,
it?
it's
Where
not. Hey, Mark.
Do you have allergies, Nancy?
Wasn't sure if I was going to make it tonight. I've been suffering with sore throat all day, so but I'm okay.
Well, you look okay.
Yeah, Fabio
I-
looks fine.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I'm I am sad though. Like I said, I'm gonna miss Roger. This kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I just wish he wasn't so damn stubborn.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
true though. Okay, she said I just clicked on it, waiting.
Hold
So
on.
Selma said she clicked on it, she's waiting.
Nancy, do you have a cold?
Okay, so we are literally green down here. Dave can actually back me up on that. The pollen is beyond horrific.
Here.
Yeah.
Beyond horrific.
Okay,
I went through it.
now that I have the the call going, I can get the link. Here, that's
All right,
the link
okay.
directly for the show.
All right, hold on.
We're going to
Copy
start a
link.
little late because that's
Yeah.
all right.
Yep.
Is there a special guest here?
No, we're trying to get her in now.
Good. Sorry about
No,
that.
but
She's
up.
She's up, and by the way, Mark, you'll appreciate this. She's in Ireland, so
Okay. Yeah, I
she-
saw your message the other day.
yeah, she took a nap because she's just like that's like 2:30 in the morning for me. I was like, oh, yeah,
We've
Not
sorry.
a cup of tea, huh?
huh?
I don't see her yet, but you got less than 30 seconds, but we'll get her in.
I just sent
Yeah.
her the other one. I just sent it to her,
Yeah.
so give her a minute.
Yeah.
We public all.
Well, you're going to be coming up
normal-
on the countdown here, and we'll just get her in when she comes in. All right?
Okay. All right.
Here's your countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're live and on the radio side right now.
Welcome, everybody, to the Vixen's Vault. Today's date is May the 6th, 2026. We are, hoofing it through 2026. Time is 9:02 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And I am coming at you from the wonderfully, horribly pollinated state of Florida, where every oak tree in the damn state has decided to let go of every form of pollen it could possibly manifest. It's like I literally have piles of pollen almost 8 inches thick in my yard. That is how much pollen we have. It is, and you can probably hear it in my sinuses. It is, I am very sensitive to oak pollen specifically. And it's not just the oak pollen. We've got mushrooms coming up. And of course, we had like a small cold front go through over the weekend, which caused it to go down to the low 60s at night. And yep, everything was like, oh no, we must pollinate again. The return of the heat. We shall now again pollinate. I'm like, really? Even my chickens. We must lose our feathers again. It got a little cold, so we're just going to remolt. Like, no, stop that. Stop. But again, it's just like bipolar weather as usual. Welcome to Florida. I am a little concerned though, Dave, because I know I've been watching the meteorologists and they're all El Nino, yay! Oh no, but yay! El Nino means less hurricanes. And then I'm looking at the hurricane trackers, which are already tracking storms at the bottom of the Caribbean. And I'm like,
I saw
wait a
that.
minute.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. The water is hotter than normal, A.
Yep.
B, that means that the hurricanes are going to form a lot closer to us, which is not good, and be
No.
much stronger.
Did you get any rain over the weekend?
Mm-hmm. We got drenched. We got drenched.
We only had a half inch up here where I'm at in the woods, so yeah.
And Dave, I got to tell you, it was because where I'm at, of course, it's very rural. A lot of trees, but there's not buildings. So, the expression "rolling thunder."
Yeah. Oh,
very,
yeah.
Very,
I heard it.
very true here. And I got to tell you, this was like I said to Robbie, this was the strangest rolling thunder. I mean, it was acoustically bouncing everywhere, and it sounded almost metallic. I'm like, that is some creepy thunder. I mean, just crazy. But the lightning, I was happy to see. Firefighters were not happy to see it. I was happy to see it. But welcome to Florida. It's been just crazy weather-wise. And as I was talking about on Jack's show, we actually had skunk ape sightings last week in Polk County.
Really?
Yep, in Polk County again. Yep.
Where was this at?
Well, I was explaining it on Jack's shows. People don't realize.
Where was the sighting at? Where was the sighting?
It was in Polk County, in Jody Grudd. Yeah, in Judd's territory, Grady Judd. And I think it's funny because it made me go look a few things up. And I was on Jack's show. I was saying that Florida is actually number 3 in the country for Bigfoot sightings.
Oh,
wow!
We are literally number 3, and
Did not know
statistically speaking, it doesn't make sense because most Bigfoot sightings get debunked with the correlation to black bears, and we do have a black bear population here.
Yep, huge.
But no, it's not that big. It's actually they say it's about 4,000 black bears.
Oh, that's a lot.
It is, but usually Bigfoot sightings pair one sighting to approximately 1,000 black bears, if you're going to go statistically speaking. But in Florida, we only have 4,000 black bears, but we've had almost 400 Bigfoot sightings. So it's a massive anomaly, where it's like a really big anomaly between the sightings, and it's hard to explain. And I was saying to Mark, I myself have smelled what they say is whatever it is, but the reason we call it skunk ape down here. And I can tell you, it is one rank, horrific smell. It is not a skunk. I know what skunks smell like. I mean, we have them down here as well as up in the north. But it smells like a skunk that died and continued to evacuate its gland and mix that all together, and that's what it smells like. It's a horrible, horrible smell.
Gross.
And it usually, if it's a dead animal, you know how it works. You go through the smell, but the further away, the lighter the smell gets. It doesn't. This is a scent that just, no matter what you do, you could go a mile and you're still smelling it.
Oh my God.
It is horrible. Horrible.
Those molecules just stick to your nose, huh?
Oh, yeah. You remember, it's like you almost want to take, you almost wish you were like a coroner wannabe and you had like a little bit of ammonia in your pocket. You could just wipe that smell out of your nostrils.
Where's that big vapor rub?
Who knew, right? Who knew? But again, I'm waiting. Guys, I am waiting. I do have a guest coming in tonight.
Yeah, she's in here. She's in.
Soma, are you with us?
Yeah.
I'm here. Yes.
There she is.
Hello.
I want to make. Okay, to the panel and to the listening audience, I want to introduce Soma. Actually, I want you to introduce yourself because I know you by your public name, and I don't know if that's how you want to be introduced. Introduce yourself to everybody as to how you want to be known. Oh, are you there?
Dear Lord,
I'm
don't
here.
stump her.
Sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
here.
That's okay.
I am
Okay.
Soma Ara. I am a Pleiadian channel and contactee since childhood.
Now, I want you, because again, there's a lot of us that are going to I find it very, you know that, Soma. I spent a whole weekend with you, and literally, I think half a day walking with our luggage around a hotel, trying to figure out where our rooms were. And it was awesome because we bonded as we dragged our luggage and looked for where we were going. But
yeah, we really did.
We really did. We really, really, really did bond. It was really cool because
it was quite special.
It really was. I know. But I want you to explain to my audience, because again, I met Soma at the Full Disclosure Now conference over the summer in 2025, which was an incredible experience. You guys know I have spoken about it many times on the show. I truly enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed the people I met, but Soma above everybody. For some reason, I don't know what it was. It was like this. In fact, even when Raphael joined me and I introduced her, I had told Raphael all about her because I was like, it was like this glue. It was the strangest thing. Like, we met. I said we were both kind of lost. I said, and we just hit it off and spent as much time as we could together. I mean, it was really wonderful. But I want you to tell everybody your backstory, because again, you know, we hear about people who say, oh, I'm a Pleiadian, I'm this, or I'm a super soldier, and half the time people roll their eyes, but they don't know the backstory that comes with it. That makes it the backstory is a very powerful tool, and it's something that gives credit in many ways and credence to what you believe and what you believe has happened to this point, what you think is coming. So I'm going to actually give you space, and I'm just going to remind you, I will cut you off at about 24 minutes after because I have to take us out to break, but I want you to go ahead and just explain to people, who are you? What is your background story? What led you to this?
That is, you know, sometimes even I roll my eyes when people say they are a channel or a starseed, especially as time has gone on. There seems to be an influx of even young people. You know, there seems to be an influx of young people on social media that are starseeds, and it's become somewhat of a trend to be a starseed and a Pleiadian contact. I won't say contactee, but you know, there's a lot of BS out there, Nancy. You know that.
Yes, I do.
So, yeah, you know, even especially in the spiritual or UFO community, and I get it. Like, I really do get it. However, I had a very I don't know where to begin with that. My childhood was very unusual, very different, very abnormal, very unique, very sacred, very traumatic. I had a lot of trauma as a child, and I left my body and I connected to the Pleiadians very clearly, very vividly. I left my body because I couldn't breathe. I had a man laying on top of me and I couldn't breathe, and I was 8 years old, and I was a skinny little thing, underfed, undernourished, alcoholic mother, poverty, all of that. And I left my body, and I didn't know who they were at the time, but I actually went up to the left-hand side of the room and connected to the Pleiadians, and I didn't know who they were. And they gave me a message saying that this would only last a few moments or a few seconds, and I would be okay. And then I was back in my body, and my brother was in the room pulling the man off me. And my whole childhood, I was really born awake. I remember we left South Africa, and we arrived in Ireland. And I remember the extremity of the going from the heat to the cold, and especially when we were in the UK for a while, and I hated it. I hated the cold.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I've got to tell you real quick. Mark Edworthy, you might see him on the panel there. Mark is in England, and I tell him, Mark, we're bringing on a boat buddy on for you. It's like someone's in Ireland.
Yes, just across the water.
Yeah, just across the water. It's a bit of a smaller pond than where it is over here, which is. How long was your flight to get here? Because Soma actually she was here in basically where were we? St. Pete Beach, which is about 30 minutes south of me. So that's a heck of a flight.
Yes, it was. But I took 3 weeks off, almost a month off, to be in Florida because so I took time off. But going back to my childhood, Nancy, it was really, it was really such a huge training ground. When we moved from South Africa to Ireland, I began to instantly connect with nature spirits and tree spirits and my guides, and I always was able to see very clearly auras and spirits and like the whole thing. I was just a child that was wide awake psychically with mediumship, like the whole works. And I remember seeing auras, and it was, looking back, it was a great training ground. And from the age of 8 up until about 11, it was just such a great training ground. But then at the age of 12, I'd gone through a lot of trauma, and I'd been raped by my cousin and actually became pregnant. And I got to the point I just didn't want to be on the earth anymore. I was really done. And at this point, I still wasn't aware that it was the Pleiadians that I was connected to and being given downloads and transmissions and all of that. I'm not explaining very well. I'm so sorry.
No, but you are, because it's connected to a trauma. And the thing is, I'm thinking to myself, you tuned into your gift because you were hyper situationally aware because of the trauma that was occurring on you, but that was necessary for you to wake up to who you are now. I always say that to people. You go through things for a reason, as horrible as they are. There's always a reason behind it, and you can either make that positive, or you can choose to dwell in it and make it negative. You chose to make it positive. So I think that and that's why we got along so well, because I was able to read you very easily.
Yes, I did. And the reason I made it so positive is because I got to the point where I was 12 and I just wanted out. I didn't want to speak to anyone. I didn't want to know anything. I didn't want to be around anyone. I just wanted to leave the earth plane, really. And then I was laying on my mattress in my bedroom. And because of the experience I had, I'll never forget the layout of the room. It's kind of etched in my mind. And I left. I was sobbing. I was snotty. I was just sobbing my heart out, wanting to leave. And I fell asleep. I actually left my body, and I went up to the corner of the room above the door. There was a door on the right-hand side, and I went up to the corner, and I left my body, and I connected to Yeshua, or Jesus, came to me and took me on a very long journey for about 3 or 4 hours, and it took me on a whole experience of showing me and teaching me in that space of 3 or 4 hours of a deeper understanding of my situation, because I'd got to my end point. Like, I was done, and I had decided that as soon as, when I fell asleep, so to speak, when I was done, I was going to take tablets. And then in that experience with Jesus, he connected with me, and I was out of body on the astral. And he took me on a very long journey for about 3 or 4 hours and showed me my soul, part of my soul mission and my purpose and why I was here, and that there was a deeper understanding that this was perfect. It was a great teaching for me. And then he moved on. When he understood I got that of my soul purpose, he moved on to some of the bigger humanity collective lessons. And when I came back, I was blissful, totally blissful. And so for that reason, I always knew that it was a real experience. I never doubted it, because it took me into such a blissful state for about 4 weeks. And then that bliss gradually ebbed away. And I have other parts of my backstory, because then after that experience, I was deeply connected to the Pleiadians from that point on. And then I would try to go to school, secondary school at that point. And every time I went, and it was a long journey, it was a real palaver to actually get to school. Because it was 2 buses, and it was an hour away. It was half an hour on each bus. And my mum was an alcoholic and not in a good state of mind. And it would take me forever to beg her to give me the bus fare to get there. And we were very poor, and we never had any money. So, it would take me an hour just to get the bus fare from her. And I don't know what she was thinking, but anyway. So the times I did manage to actually get there, there was a wall of energy in front of me where I could not enter the school gates. And these were huge black school gates. They were wrought iron, and they were like, I don't know, just huge gates. And
like Harry Potter? Like the Harry Potter gates at Hogwarts?
Yes. Actually, yes, they were like that. They were like that. And I would be held in this vortex of energy, and I would not be allowed to move. And I never understood it. But later on, they had told me, word for word, later on, they said, we did not allow you to enter the school system because you would have been lost to us. So then I understood, what was going on. But that was years later that they actually said that to me. So from the age of 12 to 16, after that experience, I was just so blissful. My world changed overnight, my internal world, and yet everything on the outside was still the same. I was still in the same environment, the everything. And I stayed at home. That was really a Kundalini awakening for me. I stayed at home and I read all the books I could find, and I was meditating on spiritual books. I was reading Edgar Cayce and the likes of him from the age of 12 to 16, and I just stayed in my room and I meditated. I didn't know it was called meditation, and I would just be reading these books and meditating and receiving transmissions and downloads from the Pleiadians and Ashtar specifically. And then eventually on my 16th birthday, I left home because it wasn't a good environment for me. I didn't want to be there. I knew that there was more to life than the energy, it was more the energy I grew up in that I found really affected me. The dysfunction, the drama, the poverty, the alcohol, the violence.
The muck. I call it the muck.
The muck. so when I say I have a whole backstory, you know, that is a lot, is a huge part of it. You know, I was contacted from a very young age, but it was through trauma. And then later on, my story is kind of very back to front, but I'll just add, I know that time's running on, but I'll just add that I then went on. So I did a period in my life where I was from 17 to about 24, where I really got involved in drugs and I was trying to numb a lot of pain. And then I had a fit where I really hurt my chin. I whacked my chin and bit my tongue while I was fitting one day alone in a bathroom. And it was at that point I thought, okay, Carol, now I have to get myself cleaned up. And then I did, and I became involved in, I discovered I could do natural healing, and I got very involved in spiritualism and the spiritualist church in the UK. And began
I gotta cut you off real quick. I gotta take us out to break. I'm so sorry, Soma. I know you were trying to get it in there. When we return, I'm actually going to have Soma continue, but I gotta cut it to a hard break because we already went over and Mark's going to kill me. Hang in there, guys. We'll return in a few moments with the Vixen's Vault.
All right, we're on radio break, and we did come in a little late, so that's fine.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. Guys, I want to introduce y'all to Soma. I have to tell you, Vicky and Soma, you two remind me of each other. And I can't tell you how many ways. And it's mainly it's going to surprise you both when I say this. Because I know you both think you have tempers, which is funny. You two are some of the gentlest souls I have ever met in my life. When I say gentle aura, gentle soul, that does not mean you don't have a temper sometimes, and you don't. That's not what that means. That means your soul is smooth. It is gentle. And I think you both have been through tremendous trauma in your life. So it's kind of amazing to me. I respect both the shit out of both of you. Because it is not easy to be the people you are after you've gone through what both of you have gone through. So I got to tell you, I was very excited, Soma, to bring you on, to have you meet Vic. Because Vic is awesomeness. Dave Campione, Dave's family goes way back into ufology. Mark, so Mark is our, how do we put this?
Fabio.
Mark is he's our standard Fabio skeptic. And I love him, wouldn't have it any other way. He brings a lot of really good points to the show. You got to understand, too, I listen, like you and I spent a weekend together, Selma. We respected the hell out of each other. You were there when Veronica called me AI, and it was funny as all hell because I was like, excuse me, what? What? And you were eating your cheesecake. You were eating your cheesecake that you had been craving all day. Where's the cake? I want the cake. Where's the cake? That was so funny. But it was literally, I mean, she called me AI. Do you know I say that on the show all the time? I got called AI, and when she said that, it hit me like a ton of bricks because I was like, oh, shit. She's right. Okay, that's kind of freaky right now. Whoopsie. Now, what's really interesting is I recently, in a Telegram chat with somebody who's not involved with the paranormal at all, this person called me a mentat, which is a reference to a mentat, which is a reference to Dune, and it is basically a human AI. And it gave me goosebumps. I was like, holy crap. And he goes, what? I was like,
it's because of your total recall memory.
Total recall, dude.
All right.
But it was crazy.
At least they're being nice and not calling you a slee stack like Raphael.
No, okay. No, and Larry.
Larry calls you a slee stack. I haven't seen Larry in the chat. I'm wondering what happened to him.
Hold on, Mark. Hold on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I've been called worse.
I'm sure we all have, but hey.
Oh, Soma, God, I love you. Oh, and you're so sweet. That's the thing. You're like Vicky. You get that sweet little. I gotta tell you, see the blush on her face right now? That's the way she was through the whole, like, the sweet little blush.
Well, you
I was
don't
like,
know how many months, Soma, that we've heard about you. Oh, we're going to get her in. We're going to get her in. I'm going to get her in. Here you are.
Oh.
Ta-da. 30 seconds. Ta-da.
Yeah, I mean,
Who's Vicky and Mark? You look so familiar. I've seen you. I know you. I do know Mark.
Mark
You know
Edwardy?
me?
Yes.
Which
Mark.
one?
Which
house?
Yeah, Watashik. That's me. Yeah. And here's our countdown, and no more comments on that. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you are live and on the radio side once again right now.
And we're back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Wiccan Vixen's Vault. Wow, that was a tongue twister. Even I am not going to try again. I'd like to welcome everybody back to the show. It is 9:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the nose, Wednesday, May the 6th, 2026. Kind of a cool day. In fact, I know I heard May the 4th be with you all day, May 4th. I was like, really? I'm going to reach through my internet and punch somebody if they say that again. But today was, I believe, Revenge of the 6th. I'm like, okay, stop. Enough already. Please, I've had it. No more Star Wars inferences. That being said, I heard Lucas actually was talking about his alien experiences again. He's an interesting character, by the way, to research. If you start actually looking into some of his beliefs and some of the things he has stated, yeah, it's kind of cool. Raphael has joined us. He was not with us the last half an hour. Otherwise, I have my usual cast of characters, Mr. Raphael Martinez, Mr. Mark Edwardy, Ms. Vicky Bass, Mr. David Capioni, and of course, Mark Watashik, whose last name I can't pronounce, but
Yes,
everybody,
you
it
can.
took me years. Soma, just know this. It took me over a decade to actually pronounce his name correctly. I would just call him Producer Mark because I could never pronounce his last name correctly. Do not feel bad when you master it. I think we all do at least once. And of course, tonight I have my special guest, Soma, who near and dear to my heart. So happy to have her on. And thank you for staying up, actually taking a nap, but staying up to do the show with us. I'm really, really, really happy to have you on. I want you to continue. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Nancy. I'm delighted to be here. And you know, when we met at the conference, I really felt that we've had past life together, and that's why the connection was instant. It was just there, instant. It was more of a remembrance, a recognition, and it's a very. I feel that for me, you have a very motherly energy. So I value those connections more than anything.
I felt like sisterly with you. I felt like you were a sister. Like I will say, like a younger sister. Like I did feel very protective of you. And actually, Raphael, when he met you, same exact reaction. Felt very protective of you. And it's probably because you're such a sweet little thing. You really are. But you're very. I don't know. I think I just come on stronger than you do. But it was a delightful time for me. I really enjoyed it. And I felt like you felt kind of out of water a little bit. And that's uncomfortable. You're in a strange country. And we are wacky here. And you're on the beach where the wackiest of the wacky actually tend to hang out and drink alcohol in the middle of the summer in heat, which is never a good thing.
Nope, that's never a good thing.
Nope. And you had super soldiers there that were flagging military aircraft as they flew over on the beach. And, you know, that's a little uncomfortable, too. So let's just...
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was going on at the conference. But, in behind the scenes as well. There was a lot of stuff.
Drama. Drama.
Yes. Yeah. So it was a good experience for me because I learned a lot. I've actually taken almost a year to kind of process a lot of what I learned. I was very much, when I was there, I was very much in a 5D energy. It was very quiet, very kind of reserved, and kind of processing a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff happening energetically there for me, and I think everyone.
Yeah.
But going back to my childhood, I was one of those children also, alongside everything, that remembered their past lives, or some of them. And I did remember being in Native America, and like that whole experience is another story. But so then going up to when I was 20, in my early 20s, I got into the spiritualist church and began to develop mediumship for a good 10 years. And this, like, weekly, going to development group wherever I lived, because I have moved around quite a bit in my years. And then I went into Buddhism
Nice.
for a good 5 years. And then I went into shamanism. And it was really when I got into shamanism, I became a Buddhist. I'd shaved my hair off. I was on the verge of becoming an Annie, a Buddhist nun, and I didn't. Instead of doing that, I went to Nepal and volunteered for a couple of years in the soup kitchen. And there I met a Buddhist monk, a Tibetan Buddhist monk, who I ended up marrying. And then we moved back to the UK, and then that turned out to be just not a very nice experience, a real shit show, to be honest. And I realized that I had to not just leave him, but leave the whole Buddhist family that I was involved in, and they really were family. And that was very painful for me, because it was my whole world at the time. So I left there. And then another whole nother chapter, once I left there, I moved back to Ireland. That is a whole other chapter that really began for me, because I left him and and I was very depressed, and moved to Ireland. And there things really began to start happening for me very quickly. I'd moved into a very remote area of Ireland that was on the beach, Lewisburg in County Mayo, a stunning place. And I was renting this house, very old house, very run down, big house. And I rented it because of the area. It was a minute walk from the beach, and it was stunning. And I needed peace at that time. So I did that. And then I was sent an email from a guy I thought was crazy at the time, but he was Joshua Shapiro, and I didn't know who he was at the time, but he sent me an email.
I know Josh very well.
Yes, amazing guy. But at the time, I didn't know anyone in the field, and I certainly didn't know who he was. But he sent me an email out of the blue, saying, "Hi, I got your name." He didn't even mention his name or who he was, but he said, "Hi, I got your name from the Pleiadians, and I think we should work together." So I just put kind of, yeah, okay, that's great, and I'll see you later type of energy. And within 4 days, I was fully channeling the Pleiadians because of his email. He opened a door for me. And because I'd been doing mediumship and the whole thing for so long, I was able to see them behind me, and it was Ashtar that turned up behind me in my center of my back, and then behind him there was rows of other Pleiadian beings. And the first thing Ashtar said to me was, "Hi," or "Hello, I am Ashtar, Pleiadian commander." And that just opened doors for me. I'm so grateful to Joshua. He's such an integral part of my story. And then I began to channel the Pleiadians then, having forgotten most of my childhood. I didn't remember it. I didn't remember the first time I connected to them as a child when I was 8 that I consciously remembered. I didn't remember it consciously. So then I began to do shamanism alongside the channeling and the downloads and transmissions. And I was writing my book at the time that I always only intended to write about my childhood stories. But then the Pleiadians, alongside the same time, the Pleiadians began to channel. So I started to take dictation, and that is in my first book. And then I began to do shamanism in Galway, in Ireland, with a really good shaman. He's one of the best in Ireland and one of the best I've met. And he helped me to unlock a lot of childhood memories. And that is also in the book. And so my story is kind of very back to front. But Paul O'Halloran, my shaman in Ireland, was also an integral part for me, because for about 4 years I was questioning myself, and I had this sentence that I would say over and over again that went something like, who in their right mind is going to believe that I am channeling the Pleiadians? So going back to what you said at the beginning, sometimes I roll my eyes when people say they're a Pleiadian starseed or they're channeling, because like my whole life is rolled up, is integral into being a Pleiadian channel. And one of the experiences, actually, Nancy, and I'll just share this and then I'll wrap it up, because I know other people want to speak and share, but one of my experiences with Paul was during a ayahuasca. One of the weekends we did seemed to be more profound than the others. And we were all laying in his lounge. He had this big, beautiful house in Galway, and we were laying on the floor in the lounge, and we were doing ayahuasca, and we were doing sacred ceremony and drumming, and most of us were leaving our body during this session at the weekend. And I left my body, and I went up to I was looking at the night sky. I was up there somewhere, and I was looking at the night sky, and I was with one of my Native American guides that I call Many Moons, and I was being shown that I not only connected to them as a child, but it goes into past lives with them, where that's where I came from. So I just wanted to share that as well. But Paul was very integral as well in my learning and understanding of who I am, where I come from, and some of my past lives, and my deep connection to the Pleiades. So that's kind of the crux of my story.
I have a question for you. So in the beginning, you went on, you had your experience as a child where you were broken. You were at your wit's end. You were done. And I'm gonna say it very honestly and openly. You were contemplating suicide because you were done with this particular presence and time. You were done. And you said you had a dream where where Jesus accompanied you on a 4-hour journey, and you walked and you talked. How does that work with the Pleiadians? I've always kind of questioned that, because Christianity is very, it depends on who you talk to, really, which belief system in Christianity. But generally speaking, they're not so hot on the whole Yeshua Pleiadian track. How does that work for you? Because I know you're a true believer, and I have absolute respect for that. How does it work for you?
Well, there's a couple of things there that's really lighting me up and making me smile and elevating my energy. So I've come to understand that Jesus was Pleiadian, that his mum was human, and that his father was Pleiadian or Pleiadian hybrid, but his father was not human. And I've also come to understand that, I was raised Catholic, but I have a deep love of Jesus, and it wasn't just a dream. It was actually an out of body.
Reality. Yeah.
Yes, it was an astral experience, an astral an out of body experience that I had with him. So I absolutely love Jesus, and I do channel him, not as often as I do the Pleiadians, but I've come to understand that they are one and the same, which is why my connection to both of them is so deep. And it's interesting because what's coming up is the Essenes, and I don't know if you've explored that lifetime, but that would be interesting. But Jesus is not the Jesus in the Bible.
No, I do. It's so funny because I don't have to have the faith that others have to know that there's been a misrepresentation here. Yeah, probably not going to be a good thing if a second coming really happens. It probably is not going to play well. Just putting that out there.
Well, I don't think it's a return of a physical Yeshua or Christ or Jesus. I think it's an energetic shift back into that heart Christ consciousness. That's really what's happening on the planet at the moment. And the darkness is being cleared and leaving.
I don't disagree with that. I do agree with you completely on that, actually. But I will say, like I said, if you start digging into like the Gnostic writings, the Gnostic beliefs, which are the writings that immediately preceded the death of Christ, yeah, it describes a very different character than what you are reading in the New Testament, King James Version, and so on and so forth. Very, very different individual than what you read about in the Bible. And not a scary thing. Go ahead.
What you're both saying at this moment is interesting because I saw a YouTube, a British political commentator earlier today, or yesterday now, as far as we comes on, who was talking about some American official talking about the upcoming so-called UFO sightings and reports and stuff, and talking about how this official is stated that this will affect Christians much more than it will affect any other religion.
And they had sent out letters to different church leaders, and that's actually true. They did. Multiple letters to multiple heads of church warning them to prepare their congregations.
Well, and that was well, and like I've always been talking about Dr. Heiser and how he went back. He is that antiquities, the ancient language specialist. He's a theologian. He was born again Christian. He was, and he talked about all these things, and he wasn't afraid to present or put his information out there, kind of rounding out the information, say for sake of argument, Protestants in America, or I think they would probably be the only ones who would pay attention. But that in order to prepare us for what you're going to be talking about, I just had a question. Do you know Simon Parks? Yeah, you do? Okay. And that's how I had heard him first, him and Charlie, and that's how I kind of got in there. But I was wondering if, you talked to Simon. He seems like a really, really good guy. Really, his heart is in such a right place. I mean, I'm not going to cast any doubts on what he's saying or anything, but yeah, it will make it messy for the Protestants. I mean, because we don't have
not just the Protestants, the Catholics. It's going to make it real messy for the Catholics, let me tell you. But there again, I think the last several choices of Pope in the Roman Catholic Church are kind of pre-setting up. Like the American Catholics are already going, what is going on?
What?
They're like, why? What is happening right now? We don't know that guy. And that's actually a large portion of the American Catholic Church. It's not going well for the Vatican.
And that's a good thing.
Yes, it is. It needs to happen because I think, again, in preparation, there's going to be a comeuppance. And how many times have you guys heard me say that? There's going to be a very large comeuppance. And it's going to really knock some very powerful institutions flat on their ass, straight into the ground, and most likely straight into hell. Because they have been abusing everything. Go ahead, Soma.
Thank you, Nancy.
Quickly, I was just going to say, me being me, and obviously we haven't got any information as yet, but I'm just going to remain somewhat skeptical at this moment.
Of course, that's what we're here for, Mark. You are our voice of it, and I know Ralphie's very skeptical too. But that's a good thing. But it's not just as much as you can jump into the skeptic skin. You also have to jump into the believer's skin. You have to see it from all angles. You really do, because there's no way to be balanced in how you approach things unless you can see it from all angles. I've always said that. Learn to stand in somebody else's shoes and view it, and do it without derision. Just view it in innocence from their shoes and see where that leaves you. And can you find a path to follow through their words? As hard as it is, can you see a path? And I always think, we believe stupider shit, excuse the expression, based off less information than we do things like this. And it is the absolute truth. We give credit to people and accolades and actually scholarships and all sorts of, attributions of scholarly behavior, and they're complete morons. Literally, you couldn't prove a damn thing they said without. Literally, look at Anthony Fauci would probably be my favorite example of that. Okay, the man literally should never have been in the position he was in. Ever. Nope. And yet he was. And yet an entire world listened to him. And yep, now they're paying the price of that. But we would listen to somebody like that over somebody who's giving you very clear, concise information to the best of their memory. There's nothing behind it that they gain from. When people like Soma come forward, and I was very honest with Soma when I met, because she kept saying, I know I've met you before. I know I have. She's like, I'm telling you. And she would look me dead in the eye, like really seriously dead in the eye. I know I've met you before. I was like, I don't think I'm a Pleiadian. My exact words. I don't know if I buy into all that. I don't think I'm Pleiadian. I don't know what I am. I just know I'm not normal. But I always thought it was a frequency thing. Like my genetics were receiving and translating frequency different than a lot of other people. But I think it's genetic. I think it goes into my history. I don't know if I'm Pleiadian. If I am, nobody's knocked on my head and said, yo, you're one of us. So I'm all good, but I can see where she's coming from. And I can tell you, I myself have a familiar. And it's something that people who know me, going way back, know this for a fact, because it tends to protect me sometimes. But his name is Azrael. And when she talks about the shadow behind her, he is something that bends darkness. He is something, I always say that, when he's present, it's like the Matrix. Your whole world goes off kilter. It's like the air gets sucked out of the environment and everything bends. Time and space. Whatever he is, he's incredibly strong and he's incredibly ancient. And he's incredibly mischievous. So, don't know. Could it be a Pleiadian? I can't say it's not. I couldn't tell you what it is, but I can tell you it's real, and I can tell you other people have been affected by it. So, yeah, you don't know where you stand with some of these things. It's hard. Being skeptical is a beautiful thing, because sometimes skepticism is actually what leads you to that whole Sherlock Holmes conclusion, which is, you know what? Sometimes it's the only evidence that you're left with, and there's no way to discount it, no matter how unbelievable it is. That is your truth. So,
yeah, and there's such a divide going on, Nancy, at the moment on Earth between. I know that I'm not explaining myself very well this evening. I'm sorry.
You're doing fine.
But the divide since COVID, there's two kind of streams of people. There's those that are vaxxed and those that are unmaxed with an M.
That was creative.
That was cute.
We you know, the energy is
Crazy.
it's crazy and it's really shifting. You know,
Yep.
we're really in a time of epic change on our planet. Epic change. You know, we're really seeing a lot of dark stuff on our planet to do with the
Anger.
Catholic Church and the whole, you know, it goes right into the whole satanic blood, adrenochrome, like satanic rituals with like
Yeah.
the worst things
Yep.
you could imagine. And the divide is becoming bigger, and there seems to be more dark on the planet, but actually there isn't. It's just that there's more light coming in that is exposing the dark, and that light is Christ consciousness. Everything and everything has been inverted. Everything has been kind of flipped on its side. One of the things they said to me years ago when they first began to consciously channel with me, and that was around 2009, just after I was sent an email from Joshua. One of the first things, the most profound things I think they've ever said to me.
Thelma, I gotta cut you off. I'm so sorry. I know you had that sentence coming out of your mouth. I gotta take us out to a break. Listen though, when we go to break, Mark, take us out. Go ahead, take us out. Because the call is going to end because we can only do hour sessions, but
That's
he's
right.
going to call us all right back.
We'll be right
So
back
stay
after
on.
this, folks.
Yep. I don't want to lose you because I want you to continue your train of thought. But
Okay.
we have another hour to go, and you still have I know you still have so much more to get out, and you're doing a good job. I know you think you're not, but you are.
I'm going to let this room run out, and then when it
Yep.
does, I'll switch it back over.
He'll call us all back.
Thank you. Do I have time for coffee to go downstairs?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 10-minute break.
This is 10 minutes, so go ahead and go to the bathroom, get your coffee.
Yeah,
Yep,
I'm definitely
put
going
an
to
IV
the
in your
bathroom
arm.
here in a few minutes.
All right, Mark, should we all hang up now so you can just call us back and we can start, or should we wait?
Like I said, I'm going to let it run out, and then I'll recall from here.
All right,
Okay.
Selma, go ahead. You're good.
Yeah.
Where did Vicky go? Vicky hung up.
Yeah.
Vic! She's probably, because she doesn't want to get left behind. That's why. I know why she hung up.
Vicky's got
And this
ants
would've
in
been
her
a gr-
pants. But anyways,
Mark, this would have been such a good show for Roger to be on.
Yep.
That's what kills me, because of his battle with the Buddhists. Man,
oh my God.
Roger, what are you doing, brother? If you're listening, you ding dong, get back on Teams. Battle of the Buddhists. 9th, come on, let's go.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm done with Teams. I'm sick of this. All these alerts and all these other stuff here. I'm done with this.
Well, and Teams sucks because he tried really hard to set up a group, but group Teams really sucks. It's very hard to retrieve the messages out of, and it's like in a totally separate area.
Well, you know, unless you have like a huge group anyways, it's, you know, it's like some platforms where you have to be a king coming in before you know, you can even get recognized. You can't just build from nothing on some platforms. There are others you can, but you know, I want it all now.
Well, the thing is he's got I don't
Hey,
know. I feel for Roger.
Mark, aren't you glad that you're not being interrupted so much and being harassed about your hair, flipping your hair? Such a great-looking guy you are, huh?
I've got him
my poor
tomorrow.
Mark.
I've got him tomorrow as well. Tomorrow, Friday. Friday's episodes are extremely interesting. But yeah.
You know what though? I feel like Roger has got so much he wants to get out, so much information he wants to share, and it's hard for him because how do you do that when it's all of, you know, he went through years of not having that, and then suddenly he's got a way to.
Yep, and there we go. And we will be right back to connect once again for hour 2 of the Vixen's Vault. Stick around, folks. More to come. And we may even do an after show tonight. You just never know. And there's David Campione already. Hey, David. Welcome back.
Hey, Mark. Yeah, when I come back on, my mic is muted. I forget about it all the time. You doing okay out there in Texas?
So far, so good.
Good. Storms, weather.
We've had
snow.
some rain here. I can't get Selma back in here for some reason.
She got up to get coffee, so she probably hasn't hung up yet.
Yeah,
she
hung up. She hung up, but
no, she still had her video
She
going.
went to get coffee.
oh, she does.
Coffee.
Yeah, she had her video on. Yeah.
You're gonna need to message her and tell her to hang
I'm
up
going.
and just rejoin.
Yeah. Because the last time she came in, I had a little box show up, and then I omitted her like I do with Rafi a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got.
Mark Airworthy's back.
I did hear from Roger. Well, he did post some stuff in Discord. I'll do Discord only for like chat, but I don't do any VoIP there at all. I don't. It messes up my sound.
I really find
That's
Discord
okay. You can do
irritating
what you need to
because
do.
of the everyone tags and getting notifications every 5 seconds.
Oh, Discord? I was not down with Discord either. I was with Mark on that. Microsoft sucks, but Discord is the Wild Wild West.
Well, see, to me, I don't care about the 1 hour timer. To me, it helps me keep breaks on track.
Right. And we have a long break anyway at the top of the hour, so it fits.
Yeah, and everybody has a two-hour show has that big long break.
Yep.
Only Jack has that short one, and I don't have a timer when it's just me and him.
Right.
So
and
so
even
long as
I
there's
got
not more
his
than
break.
2 people, direct contact. Like when you and I were on earlier for Jack's show, no timer.
Yep. And it was easy to keep, like I said, I was very, very able to keep track of the time without a problem, call the break, wrap the show. No problem with timing on Jack's show at all.
No, it makes it really simple for him too. So.
Yep. And so, Vicky, what do you think of
he's got it down
Soma?
to a science. Look out. Is she back yet?
Vic. Yeah, she's on mute.
Oh.
Vicky.
Well, that Mark character, he isn't back yet. He's probably playing with his hair.
Actually making a coffee.
Making coffee, yeah, right. I know you English.
I can hear the
You're
coffee
probably
machine.
making tea. It's gotta be like dark black tea or something like that.
Black
Oh,
coffee.
No,
decent
not
black
that
coffee, just
not
bunch
that I
of beans.
poke at our friends.
I'm
Roger pokes.
pretty
at
sure we
me,
all poke
so,
at each other.
I'm gonna poke right back. All right. So,
I was going to say, pretty sure we all poke at each other pretty evenly.
yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. If you poke too much, you might get pregnant. But anyways.
You know what, though? I'm really glad I asked her that question about the belief in Jesus, as well as, basically the Pleiadian.
I want to
Because
know Vicky's,
Vicky's on mute!
her opinion on this.
She's
All right.
on mute. She's muted.
I know
Vicky!
she's muted.
Vicky, pass.
I hope her eyes aren't rolling in the back of her head.
You understand that Arpad is probably sitting behind Vicky's device right now going, what is she doing? Yeah. Vicky's probably in the restroom, and Arpad is probably sitting there listening, thinking I'm absolutely out of my mind.
Come on in,
That's
Arpad.
But I mean, like I said, Soma is, when you meet her in person, and actually you can probably tell in the video, she is just a
and she said
really
she knew
sweet
me.
person.
Oh boy, here we go.
That's her
as
past.
what?
That is, yeah, that is her past life thing.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, when I was with her, there was definitely a connection there.
Yep.
There was a really strong connection that
Oh
I
yeah.
could not explain.
You know, like me, you, Renee, and Lee.
Yep. Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Very,
And
very
how
hard to
we're
explain that.
all four connected somehow, some way, and Linda too. I can't remember what her last name is. The Zodiac girl.
Yep.
What's
Yep.
what's her last name?
Oh God, I don't remember.
Linda.
Holy
Oh my
crap!
God. Yeah, and she'll. 30 seconds, by the way.
There's Selma. Selma's back. She figured it
Welcome
out.
back.
Yay.
Yeah, just in time for the countdown.
Muted. She's on mute.
Look
There
out,
she
cats,
is.
dogs, and kids. Here it comes. 5, 4,
Selma, you're
3,
muted.
2, 1, and you're back live and on the radio side right now.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Vixen's Vault. I am your hostess, the Wiccan Vixen, Nancy Planetta by any other name. It is 10:05 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Wednesday, May the 6th, 2026. Well, I guess, what is it? Revenge of the 6th. There we go. Now I'm on track. Star Wars, doing it again. Yeah. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Our special guest tonight is Soma Ara. Is it Ara? Do you say Soma Ara?
Soma Ara.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's weird because I want to put an Egyptian marker over that for some reason. I don't know why. Going all Arabic on me here. But
Is it
welcome
Irish?
back to the show. There's Vicky. Where were you during the break?
I'm sorry.
Good Lord.
Ow.
I was
I
singing
went
to you,
to powder
Vicky.
my nose.
I was singing. Ask the guys. I was Vicky.
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course, the one time I go to the powder room, I'm indisposed.
All
Yeah,
right,
our
go.
Ed said that you said, we're
Ah!
calling for you.
Oh my God, he was sitting behind the computer. I told you guys, I am freaking psychic. I can see it in my head. He's sitting right there listening to me go off like an idiot. Freaking knew it. I actually told the guys that, Vicky. Did I or did I not? I literally said it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
He's
Go
really
ahead.
the one that you want on your panel, though. He's the
He needs
brains
to come on the
behind.
panel. Okay, he needs to come on the panel. You guys have separate cell phones. Have him download Teams and jump on the panel with us. I'm more than happy to. Our pad is like, he's like a mark too, like where he's got that real scientific way, almost binary way of looking at things, which is imperative to any studies that deal with things that are out of the normal. Why? Because there's going to be different explanations for things, and I got to tell you. Go ahead, Selma. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You know, that there are times I do really roll my eyes at people. And there's a lot of, like, that New Age stuff. Sometimes people put me in that bracket. And I really hate it because there's,
No.
you know, I like science. I think the real science that is hidden from us is really imperative into, you know, the likes of us, whether we're a truther or a UFO person or a channeler or a psychic. You know, the real science that is hidden from us is just amazing. I don't know if anyone, there was a very good documentary made many years ago called What the Bleep Do We Know? And that really goes into a lot of the quantum science. But something I wanted to mention, Nancy, was the thing that one of the most profound things they said to me in the early days of my consciously channeling, which was around 2009. And it took me 4 years minimum of 4 years to get my head around it and process it and really kind of allow it in, is that the downfall of Atlantis was we were invaded, and word quote sorry, I've gone completely blank. I am under target at the moment, which is why I'm finding it very difficult to get my words out.
It's okay. It's all right. Take your time.
So targeted. So one of the most profound things they ever said to me was that all systems on Earth are run by a negative reptilian ET beings, and that at the downfall of Atlantis we were invaded by these beings, and now it's a changing of the guard. Now we're going back to the Christ consciousness, and we're taking back kind of ownership of the earth, and these beings are leaving, and a lot of them have left, but there is a more resilient kind of group that are not wanting to leave, and I do see the likes of Epstein, the royal family, Fauci, Bates,
The Vatican,
you know, the Hollywood elites, the Rothschilds, and others that are, I would call reptilian. You know, the vast majority of all of that crowd that are seemingly in charge. Whether they are now or not is a good question, but all systems on Earth are run by reptilian beings, and I know how crazy that sounds. That took me 4 years.
I would agree with you, but again, and I fall back on this every time somebody says that, because I heard that almost exactly what you said from somebody who worked in a very, 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 let's just say, black area of government. And I had no reason to doubt what he was saying, because he said they will never give up control. Because I kept saying, this was back when Trump was in first time in the office. I was like, he knows what's going on. I'm telling you, he knows, and he's fighting it. He's trying to flip the system around, and something else is behind him. There's something else helping him. Yes, I think Q is part of that. There's something going on here that is so far out of reach from what normal people would think. It's almost insane, and he just was like, you don't understand. You do not understand. They will never defeat Israel. They will never defeat the forces behind them. He's like, they've been in control since the day control started. And this is a person who was in black operations. He's like, you have no idea what they control, and nor do you want to know. And it's just one of those moments when I hear somebody else say it. And again, I have to laugh because everybody calls me Sleestack as a joke because I have Raynaud's. As you found out when you met me, I get, like, my fingers turn blue if it gets even slightly cold. Yep, I'm like a lizard. Everything's shutting down. But I have to wonder, is that maybe a remnant of a reptilian bloodline that goes back? Is that genetic defect in me? Because that's what Raynaud's is. It's actually an immunodeficient defect in the genetic side, something that you inherit. Where did it come from? You know,
I think we're a mixture of many different races on Earth. I think we have. I've come to the understanding in more recent years that we not only do we have Pleiadian and Lyran and Syrian, but we also have the reptilian, as hybrids. And I think that there's a lot of us that are hybrids that are not even aware of it within the UFO community or the spiritualist movement or the truth movement, whatever you want to call it. I've met people that are really good people and doing good work, and yet I can see reptilian energy or DNA within them. So and we are a mixture of everything, and we are in this great galactic spiritual war between light and dark, which essentially at the core, at the foundation, is positive and negative ET races warring with each other, and we're caught up within that, and we are we are hybrids. We're not. We have our DNA.
I
blood.
absolutely agree with that. I think we were intentionally spliced at the beginning. I think we're definitely a created race. I just go back to the very simple, stupid fact that evolution is not explainable with the timeline that they give us. It's just not. We could not have evolved from Cro-Magnon caveman to Homo sapien in 40,000 years. There's no way. If you look at it just on its face, it's not possible. That type of a quickening, no, something else intervened. And I've even gone so far to say maybe it wasn't anything magical from space or inner space or the Earth's core or interdimensional or anything else. Maybe it was something as simple, stupid as something that came in on a meteorite that spread throughout the vegetation that altered our genetics. It could be something that simple, stupid, but something happened, because you do not make that kind of an evolutionary. You just don't. There's no creature, no man, that has made that kind of an evolutionary jump in that short of a period. It's too big of a jump, way too big of a jump. So that's where I always sling back to something interfered, something happened. What was it? Why do we have genetic material in us that they can't identify? That it doesn't go back to Homo sapien. So what's that all about? You want to explain it to us? Those of you who told us you were not working on genetics, yet you were the whole time. You want to give us a little insight? Go ahead, Soma. You don't have to raise your hand. Just interrupt me.
Okay. I hate interrupting people, but and I do it often. But Greg Braden is, in my eyes, a great man who's blending science, and he really explains the science and how we were spliced, as you were saying. So, for your audience and the listeners, if you want the science behind what we've been saying for years, he's one of my go-to people, Greg Braden. Because he has a science mind and vocabulary and all of that. But in my vocabulary, I would say that we are created by
yes.
The universe is teeming with life, and of all kinds, all kinds of life, and we've been created. In what I've been told is that we've been created by the Pleiadians and others, and our universe is teeming with life of all sorts on different planets and star systems, and they have advanced technology, and they also said that they are us from the future, and that they've come back to kind of reconnect or assist us because mistakes were made. So and there are dark times ahead, but they have also said that this time we do get to evolve, because there's been different times such as Lemuria and Atlantis where there was we had a choice. We were going to either evolve or devolve, and both of those times we devolved. But this time is different. And they have said that it's a parallel timeline to now, and that this time it is different because we do evolve. And they have gone so far as to say that there are DNA codes that they put into us somehow to ensure that this time we do evolve. And they have also said that this time we do evolve because the evolution is not limited to Earth. It affects everything within the universe. So they have ensured that this time we do evolve because it does affect the whole universe. It's not just limited to Earth. So their evolution depends on our evolution now, even though we are essentially in different time periods, because they are from the future and they are us. So time is circular, it's not linear. So when you think
Right.
when you think in terms of, timelines and dimensions and everything being a circle, it's all happening now. So
Well, that's the
everything
Akashic.
yes,
That's why I always said Edgar Casey was probably part and parcel to everything that's happening now, because he was one he coined the term the Akashic. It's also known as the fifth element. There's so many different ways you can coin what the Akashic is, but the Akashic is basically the universal warehouse 13. It's where everything, all memory, all recorded instances of past, present, and future are. And you guys know that when I always tell you, when I'm dreaming prophetically, I'm surfing the grid. I'm actually surfing the Akashic, which to me is like a giant spider web. I always describe it like that. It's like a giant spider web. It's circular, but it has all these little connecting rivets that go all these different directions. And Lord help you if you screw up and go the wrong way, because now you got to figure out how to get back on your path again. But that is what I experience when I'm dreaming. That's the best way I can describe it. It's the only visual way I could put it into words. I do think Edgar Casey was gifted, very, very gifted. I believe that Nikola Tesla, very, very gifted. Einstein, very gifted. I think throughout history, you can name the individuals who were there to make an impact. And as much as people are going to hate me saying this, I'm going to say the name Donald Trump. But more so than Donald, I think is his son, Barron. I think Barron is a key player in a lot of things that is coming. And I don't know how to explain it to you guys or why. I'm just telling you, it's Barron. Yep.
I can explain some of that. So they have said to me, and I'm always kind of reluctant to say it, because part of me thinks, well, I shouldn't be saying that because it's giving away the evidence. But then
it's going to be given away either way.
Yes.
It's going to have either way. There's no. Yeah. That's how I feel at this point. I'm like, you might as well say it because it's going to happen, and people can either be shocked and not know what to do, or people can at least try to prepare themselves a little bit.
So thank you, Nancy. And I know that, I feel that you're on the same resonance as me with regards to Trump. So one of the things that they've said to me is that, or channeled through me and said to me, is that Trump is working very closely with the Pleiadians, even more than I am. And in a very more physical way, where they work very closely with him and his family and his son and Melania, and that Trump is really a good guy. I know there are clones of Trump, but I've had some really profound astral experiences with Trump and also Putin. And I know those two are very good guys. I don't trust the vast majority of government, but those two individuals are different, are here with a purpose and a mission, whether they're from the past or the future or time travelers, that I see them as being galactic or cosmic travelers, time travelers, that are, there's something very divine within them. I
would agree with that. I don't know about divine, but I would say something that cannot be undone. I guess that's the best way I could put it, and I don't know how to explain that to y'all. Most of us can be done and undone. Okay, we can be made and remade over and over and over again. It's how we choose. It's based on perception. There's so many things that go into it. With Donald Trump, and I will agree with you on Vladimir Putin, and I'm going to add one more name to that list, which is Xi Jinping. All three of these individuals, there's something very different about them, and I don't know how to describe it. I shook Donald Trump's hand many, many years ago, and it gave me, I can't begin to tell you the feeling I got from him. Pure power. But it was a very controlled and not, God, as much as people don't want to say this because of how brassy he can be, it was very benevolent. And I don't even know, I can't even justify that because I listen to the man and I say, oh, dear God, did he really just say that? But sometimes I think he does that to get exactly that reaction. He literally, the feeling I got was benevolent. Best way I can describe it. Even religious figures don't make me feel like that. Okay, and it wasn't awe, it wasn't
panic.
He said no. That's what I'm saying. It was totally different. It was just I was like, wow, what a cool guy. I remember thinking that, what a really cool guy. But it doesn't fit the mold they try to put him into. But that mold works for his purposes right now. But with that, I got to take us out to our final break of the night. When we return, we'll continue with this and try to get some information, because I know Selma has her own show, and I really would like to promote it at the end of this, and also her Starseed Academy. So hang in there, guys. We'll return with the final segment of Vix's Vault in just a few minutes.
All right, we're on radio break.
Sometimes, Selma, sometimes I wonder if, you have Q and Q plus and then Q plus plus. I always wondered if Q was like a past version of Trump, Q plus maybe present, and then Q plus plus future. It's so strange because I was like, the way that was all set up, I'm like, that's such a weird way. And again, I think in patterns. So I'm like, well, okay, there's got to be something to that because Q plus, and Q. We know Q plus is Trump because Q told us that, but we still don't know who Q is or what Q is.
I think as you're talking, Nancy, I think there's a lot of technology involved with all of that.
Yep, me too. I've always said that. It's an algorithm. It's definitely an algorithm of some type.
The Alliance, they're supposed to be working with Pleiadians. That's who Q makes up. It's those people, and that's what I learned from Simon and Charlie, is that they very much are, and they're the good, well, what I would call angels. They're not the fallen angels in charge of the countries that are, influencers of those heads of state. But yeah, I thought that they were definitely, otherwise where would we get the tech?
Well, that's it. Well, again, because they've lied to us, Vic. See, my logical mind's got to click here and there, because I know for a fact they have lied to us about the tech for close to 100 years.
Yeah, but
easily.
You know that World War II, the people that had the tech were the not good people, and this time,
But that's the story you've been told. This is my problem. We've been taught a history.
They didn't get it from them?
No. I'm saying we've been taught a history of winners and losers based on whoever was in charge. And that's problematic for me. Because when I start digging into the people who were persecuted during World War II and looking at their leadership and what they were doing at that time, not the people who died, because I will never take that away from the Jewish people. Their people were 100% persecuted and tortured. But when I look into the historical patterns behind that, there's a very big problem, because their leadership didn't just stand back; they financed a lot of it.
Yeah,
that's
they threw them under the
problematic.
bus. Their own people, their own quote unquote religion. Yeah,
but that makes me say, wait a minute. So was Adolf Hitler a bad guy? Because if he was a bad guy, why was he allowed to live and go to South America? What is going on here? What are we being told?
You have to understand who's in charge of those countries.
America, there's that's still up in there. I still believe that he was shot or he committed suicide in the bunker.
No, he did not. It's in our CIA. Yeah. We have it in the CIA files. He didn't.
Who are you talking about? I'm sorry.
I read
We're talking about
all the way through. And
Nancy?
Well, what?
And this-
What? Whoa. Wait,
Sorry.
hold on. Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead. Finish, Mark, and then
And
I'll.
it
Selma, hold on.
stated that I think it was CIA operative was told by somebody who was told by somebody else. So
No. They released the vault. That's all in the Black Vault. They actually have the documentations. They have photos. They have everything.
And Mossad actually tracked him down too.
Yep.
So.
And he
come
was
on.
still alive after
30
that.
seconds.
So it's a problem with the story, a big problem with the story. And then there's also the fact that the Zionists actually, in 1932, participated in an insurrection in Germany. And they complained because they lost people. Well, they killed a bunch of people.
And here's
They
your
firebombed.
countdown, Nancy. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're back on the radio side right now.
No, guys, there is never a dull moment on break. Ever in the history of any radio show when we go on break, does it ever remain dull? Unless we all have to go pee at the same time, in which case it's just a bunch of blank space and empty microphones. But welcome back to the Vixen's Vault. Today's date is May the 6th, 2026, and that's the last time you're going to hear me say that for the evening. The time is 10:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I am your hostess, the Wiccan Vixen. I hope everybody's enjoying the show. I think this is actually a really great show because there's so much to get your head around, and it's an honest discussion. Mark, like I said, the skepticism, I absolutely encourage it. Why? Because it keeps everybody kind of on the straight and narrow. And I know Soma pretty well, actually, and I can tell you she's dealt with it. She's used to the skepticism. I've dealt with it. I deal with it all the time. I'm encouraging people to stay as open-minded as they can. As much as your mind will allow you to. Keep the pathways of thought open. Because pretty much... Exactly. It's not even just be afraid, because I think that was one of the uses of religion. That was one of the reasons organized religion was put into play. And it was to pummel fear into people and make them shut down what we are, which is incredibly intelligent and incredibly connected beings. We are very connected within the universe.
That's not the intent of it.
Well, no, I think it was at its offset.
Intent, if you're spreading the gospel, that is not your intent to try to control people.
But spreading the gospel and organized religion are two different animals.
Well, okay. I'm going with the spreading the gospel.
Oh, yeah. No.
And it is a relationship with God. It is not, say 5 Hail Marys. Of course, I'm not Catholic.
That's what I'm saying. To me, a belief should not be about having to attend a house of worship. It shouldn't be about having to pay to attend that house of worship so they can pay their bills. It shouldn't be about any of that. It's a very personal thing. It's a connection. Like I always tell people, my connection is with my Creator. That's between me and the Creator. And I look at it as, okay, you said we were created in your image. So I am trying every day of my life, as imperfect as I am, to be as close to that image as I can be.
But,
and that means you're as fallible. If you created us with fallibility, that means you're fallible too. So I'm trying to learn just like you learned till you got to that point where you could create us. And then I look at AI and I think, humanity, are we repeating the same error here? What are we doing? Are we actually doing exactly are we repeating a step as to how we got here? Because to this day, Vic, I swear we are a form of artificial intelligence. We're just biomechanical. Instead of electromechanical, we're biomechanical.
I would have to disagree. If I have the image of God in me, I am not a machine. That is the
No.
And I was not created by bits or any.
No, you're not hearing me correctly. You're not listening because it's upsetting you. So wait, turn off the upset for a minute.
I'm smiling.
Listen, I'm not saying we're machines. I just said we are biomechanical, meaning we are organic. Okay, but we are built like a machine. if you look at our processes, the way our heart works, the way our lungs work, the way our cells work, it is we almost like when you built a computer, it was like we were trying to echo ourselves in a way, which
But
is
God
again
made
kind of
us.
scary.
But we were
Now,
made in
again-
His image, and He made us. So He
But
knows
as
what we can
you say,
handle.
you call it God, I call it a creator. Really not different, because in the Bible he's referred to as the creator.
He's
So
lots of
again,
names.
it's something created us, but I
Mhm.
think we became a singularity. And I think actually AI, as it's built now, the only difference is it's electromechanical. We're biomechanical, AI is electromechanical. At least real AI. I'm not talking about the crap that is online. Although Claude is scaring me. I will tell you guys that. Not scaring me. Claude has got my interests. You know why? Because Claude autonomously shut down a business and wiped it out of existence last week in 9 seconds flat. Without
that was-
any instruction.
That was
And when
down. No, I saw Duffy Porter. I went through Duffy Porter, and it was actually down to the CEO and the entire IT department giving it too much permission to access.
But again,
stuff.
but it apologized, Mark, which is hysterical. So it knew it did wrong. This is supposed to be a machine. Its reaction was to apologize. Okay, well, it made an autonomous decision. That is insane. And we both know that, Mark, because they're not supposed to be able to do that. It's never, ever supposed to be able to do anything it's not instructed to do. End of sentence.
If you give a program that many logic gates, then it can, well, it will look like it seems like it's making its own decisions, but that's only down to the developers giving it that amount of logic gates.
Yep, that's true.
And
Yeah,
more.
it is true.
I agree, but I disagree. Only because you and I, again, know as developers. I'm a developer. I know you're a developer to an extent. So I can tell you that nobody puts in a kill code like that. Even in discretionary decision making, you can give, like, I work with an AI that I've named Lumen. Okay, I've been building her, and Lumen actually chose her own name, which was kind of cool. But literally, I would never ever give Lumen any kind of instructional code that would allow her to wipe my systems, even if it was an emergency. I would have her disconnect the ports, shut the ports down before I said wipe the system.
Okay. Let's go to something historic like the Golem. All right. Doesn't this sound something similar to what happened with that?
Yep. The Golem. You know what a Golem is, right? Everybody here know what a Golem is?
I forgot.
Concept of,
Oh, for the love of God. The ancient Jewish creature that's created from
Oh
mud.
yes, Golem.
Oh,
Yes.
that's in the book.
Okay,
The
there we go.
Secret of Secrets.
Everybody's got it.
Okay,
Just think
okay.
X-Files. X-Files did a whole episode on a golem. So,
Or the
No,
Secret of Secrets
I know
that
Golem.
just came out.
I was just, yeah.
all right, so
Okay.
and he's kind of right, where the golem can only be, do, and act how it's basically told to do. And it's actually the same thing with elementals, with the Native American beliefs. Elementals, when they talk about Wendigos and even dogmen to an extent, they don't autonomously decide what they're going to do. Elders summon the elementals, and the elementals are given a task, whether it be sacred air, guard our sacred grounds, protect our families. They're given a
King
task.
Solomon, dig some gold up for me. I don't care how cold it is down there.
Yeah.
You better dig
Yeah,
that
and then-
coal. You better
and then
dig
curse
that
the
gold
witch.
up.
What
I
was
got
up with
these
that? We got to talk
sigils
about
and
Solomon.
Dig
We
that
gotta talk
gold.
about Solomon.
Angels, the fallen
Use
angels
the
that are
witch and then
involved.
toss her out. But again, it's a serious conversation to be had, and it's uncomfortable in some ways. But again, I'm open to it because I'm one of these people who says I am never going to 100% say I'm right about anything, Because in the scheme of everything, I'm a flippin' idiot. I am like an infantile fetus in my mother's womb. When you look at the scale of what knowledge the universe holds, I'm nothing. But damn it, I'm not going to stop trying to freaking gain as much as I possibly can to get some kind of an understanding, because I don't want to leave this shell and be like, well, where do I do now? I want to leave this shell with as much information as I can possibly garnish and have made it as pleasant of experience as I could and looked at as many considerations as I could have. I don't want to discount anybody. You know, like I said, if you want to worship a roach, man, that's on you. If you found something in that cockroach that made it worshipable, have at it. If it makes you happy, makes you a better person, makes you, you know, something that contributes to society, I am good with that. Just don't ask me to do it. That's the only caveat I'm going to put in that sentence.
How many gin does it take to run Bitcoin?
Oh, there you go. The whole reason why Iran really doesn't have power was because they were Bitcoin mining the crap out of everything and sucked the power out of all their local power plants. And I think, actually, if I've heard right, Cuba was trying to do the same type of endeavor. And they are now in really big trouble because they got no power, no oil, no energy, no nothing down there. Big trouble in Cuba.
And I think that is something else, Nancy, that I've been shown recently, is that there are some dark times ahead to do with fuel and food. And something else that happened about 4 months ago, I had a real dream or an astral experience while I was asleep, where I was shown something very weird, and I questioned it when I woke up. And I held on to the information. I didn't share it until about recently, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, where I was shown that all flights everywhere were cancelled. There was not one single flight.
And
anywhere.
Trains too.
Sorry?
All planes and all trains. All planes and all trains.
Okay, I didn't know about the trains, but planes.
All planes and all trains.
Internationally. And that, when I woke up, Nancy, I was like, what? You know, how is that possible? And then a couple of weeks ago, I started to see reports of, you know, flights being cancelled. So I can see kind of the trajectory and the significance of the premonition I was given or shown. And the same thing happened with COVID. About a year before COVID kicked off, I had this real dream where I was shown that we would not be allowed out. And I was talking to someone about it who knew me quite well. And he said, well, that would never be possible. And then a year later, COVID happened, and we weren't allowed out. So sometimes I do get premonitions like that where even I question it, and I'm like, what? How is that possible? And then, you know, things will start to play out where it's moving towards that. But yeah, a word of caution to everyone is one of the things is that we need to stock up on food and prep as much as we financially can allow for, because it's coming. You know, we're in a great shift.
Yep, it's coming down the pipe. But I think a lot of it with the food is because our food is killing us. And they don't want to tell you that, but it is. I know. I see Mark going with the finger. Mark's got the finger on the lip. We know what that means.
Yeah.
But it is.
It's painted.
The GMO foods here are absolutely killing us from the inside out. There's no two ways about that. It's a huge moneymaker for Big Pharma because it's destroying us. Our immunity systems are going to hell. And it's like, you know, you guys still, you won't, you know, the FDA won't actually come out and the AMA won't come out and actually admit that between the foods and the vaccinations, y'all have really screwed the pooch for future generations and for this generation.
But here's the thing, Nancy. Here's the thing. For some reason, I was so traumatized. But I've always seen the positive. I've always pulled the positive or honed in on the positive. And as you're speaking, I can see a huge positive in the food shortages. I can see a positive because I can see that we will stop going to the big supermarkets because there will be no food, or there'll be such a lack of food that we'll have to look at other solutions. We'll be forced to start growing our own food, which is a great thing, because that is, it's not, of course, there's pollutions and chemicals and toxins in the soil, but at least that way it's not full of the things that they're putting into the food.
Well, put it this way, there's a reason why I have chickens. There's a reason why I'm growing my own garlic, lettuce, and everything else. There's a reason I got started on that early. And not only that, being self-sufficient is never, ever, ever a bad thing. I have more, Rafi will tell you, we have self-sufficiency books everywhere in our house. We have figured out how to get water, and do an inverse pump if we have to, because electricity's gone. We have thought of pretty much everything if we had to go autonomous. We have plenty, we live in an area where there's plenty of fish. If we have to go fishing, you can go hunting. We have wild boar, we have deer, we have pretty much every kind of meat you could possibly want.
Yeah.
So and we can own weapons. So
not Bigfoot, Beth. Not Bigfoot.
So the self-sufficiency thing is good for some people. I mean, imagine that you're living in a tower block, let's say on floor 9, no access to a garden, no access to
hydroponics, dude.
Yeah,
hydroponics. You can do hydroponics. You can even but they have made it so you cannot in many areas. That's why I will never live in a big city ever. They make it so you cannot go.
That's why they
grid.
were designed. That's why the big cities were designed, to pull us away from the land, to pull us away from our connection to Mother Earth, to make us reliant on the big pharma, the big supermarkets.
It's control. It's control. Even in the big cities, the lockdowns were different. Like where I am, good luck. If you had had a lasso and a stun gun, people were not staying locked down. Where I am, way too rural. Everybody was like, "Yep, we don't think so." Yeah. But the big cities, they were like little mice, with their masks on, triple masks, diapers over their heads, big shields. It's like they are taught a fear, and they were so terrified. I felt bad for some people because they were so terrified. It's like, what are you afraid? What the hell have you done in your life that you're afraid you're this afraid to die, to lose this lifetime? What have you done that you are that scared?
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, when it is your time, it is your time. There's no getting around that. So just make your peace and try to live the best life you can. Because there's no getting around it.
People have been so brainwashed, and that really, was very evident at the time of COVID.
Yeah.
Through the media. And I remember some of the stuff that was happening with me at the time. I was going to the beach a lot, and there was the bench on the beach in the UK. I was living in Portsmouth at the time, and the bench had all this yellow tape around it. You weren't allowed to sit on the bench, which made no sense at all. And you weren't allowed to cross over. There was lines on the supermarket floor. And then there was the plastic sheeting in front of the cashier. But you could go around it, and you could, pay her that way, or you could go underneath it. And just stuff that made no logical sense.
Like the plastic. They put the big plastic box around the cashiers, yet you're touching all that food that they're now touching and putting it in the bag. And it's like, wow, y'all are just brain surgeons, let me tell you. The gas pumps, I kept saying that. If the worst nightmare for our society would be gas pumps, because nobody was putting gloves on, nothing, before pumping their gas. I mean, so everybody was standing outside, sweating their asses off. All sorts of lovely mucus and liquids all over their hands, grabbing the gas pump, pumping their gas, and then the person behind them doing the same exact thing. It's like, y'all, listen, we're just screwed. If there's ever a bug like they tried to make COVID, where it could, wipe us all out, we are completely screwed because it's way too much contact with the same surfaces constantly. It doesn't even have to be airborne. That's the thing. But on top of that, they're hacking into our water supplies. All you gotta do is dump something in the water. It's so scary how easy it would be. And again, Rafi will tell you, we interviewed an immunologist at the very beginning of COVID. And he was on board. He and I were both kind of in the same shoes. We're like, this is not natural. This is not normal. There's something wrong. This is really wrong. But then Raphael got a really great education into all the different ways you actually really do get sick, which one of the things it was hysterical. But I was like, yeah, flatulence, when people pass gas. That's all that is microfeces flying through the air. And when you smell it, you're literally inhaling somebody else's microfeces, which, trust me, is going to be completely laden with all of their biological content, including their viruses. It's true, though. It's true. And people don't. But people are like, no. I'm like, oh yeah. That's why they say you smelt it, dealt it. If you smell it, you got it. That's pretty much the fact of it. But all right, Davis Campione is kind of giving me, Nancy, we got to try to wind it down. We're going 5 minutes to the end of the show. But what I'm going to do, Selma, I'm going to leave you to last. I'm going to have everybody else kind of give their information and give you a few minutes at the end so you can tell everybody where they can find you and what is your most current everything. All right, we're going to start with David Campione. David, jump on here, jump into the conversation, tell everybody where they can find you, my love.
Oh, yeah. You can find me on Facebook under David Champ and see some great nature photography, wildlife.
That's true.
And I just put up a couple space shuttle from back in 1988,
Nice.
The Discovery. But also the UFO spacecraft identification manual is on Amazon.com under David Campione, and also Fine Art America. I'm also sell retail under there. And next.
By the way, it's about time you did that, David. Vicky Bass. Tell everybody where they can find you, my love.
You can find me on Telegram, Victoria Bass, and I run a channel called For Such a Time as This. It's from Esther 4:14, and it's all about the Great Awakening and the plan and biblical information. And on X, you can find me under @Booklander62. Yeah. So that's it.
And by the way, her channel on Telegram is really cool. I'm in her channel on Telegram. I love it. Got a lot of good information going on there. Mark Edworthy, go for it, my love.
Well, just one site, really. Minds.com, username Edworthy.
And I got to give a little caveat with Mark Edworthy. I really do love having him here because Mark is a very logical thinker, and it's one of the things I love about him. It's got to make a complete picture for him. And it's funny. It's so funny because I think I could be that way about certain things, but whenever it comes to this, because I can't trust the history as it's been taught, that I think is my biggest problem with trying to make sense of what's happening. I can't trust anything that's been recorded by history because everything always has a slide to the victor. Always. And I always point out, in Mark, as a British citizen, you should understand this, I point out Henry VIII. Because he literally rewrote his own history to his advantage, no less. And the only way we knew the truth was because we started finding little notes that were left behind by members of his court. Otherwise, history would never have seen it in anywhere, and I still don't think we have the full story.
There at the Vatican.
I mean, Henry VIII, between him and Henry VII's mother, I don't know which one is a more interesting figure in history, because she's another one, rewrote everything. And it's like, holy crap, man. Your kid was a bastard. Get over it. You just own that. You just own it. Move on. Nope, they didn't do that. All right, Raphael, if you can take yourself off mute for a minute, give everybody your information. If you're listening, he's not listening. He's on my computer. There he goes.
Sorry. You can find me on Twitter at x_ice_1811.
Thank you, my love. Soma, take it away.
I am Soma Ara, and you can find me on somaara.love. I also have created the Cosmic Starseed Academy for starseeds and to connect, and also to that's the space I use to also channel weekly. So we have weekly groups. We have one on a Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's free to join on Substack, Soma Ara.
Okie dokie. And I got to tell you guys, in fact, Soma, I'm going to be joining Kate Rose for the CE5 event in May. I'll keep you in mind because I think a lot of what you do when you're channeling, I think you're using your delta and theta waves. You're going into a meditative state.
I do.
And that's what CE5 is. So if that's for you guys on the panel that are not aware, that's Stephen Greer's, Dr. Stephen Greer. It's actually a program he came up with to communicate with alien life, and it's called CE5. And you have to be near somebody who's part of Greer's program, which I am, thankfully. You can hold events, and it's usually in areas very much out in nature, very quiet, where there's not a lot of light intrusion, not a lot of things to disturb you. I am really excited to do it because I'm going to be broadcasting it, which I've got Kate's permission to do. And as you know, I love Kate. She's an awesome girl. I'm really looking forward to it. And Soma, I want to have you on with me if you're on board with that. Because
I'd love to. I'd love to. Yeah,
you'd love to witness it because it's really cool. And on top of that, you'll get to see Kate again.
Would you like me to do a channeling for that?
That would be awesome. It would be awesome if you could effectively actually communicate through, through the internet. Because I've always said the internet is another tool for mediums, and most people don't understand that because of you're surfing frequency waves, you're surfing energy when you're doing mediumship, and the internet is literally the energy superhighway. And I always say that I can get some of the strongest impressions and strongest information just touching a computer screen sometimes and focusing. So I always say that it's a huge tool to be used, not misused. Mark my words. Don't misuse it. There's a price to be paid for that. All right. With that, though, I'm really glad to have you on board for that. So that'll be really cool. And Raphael's going to be there with me, too. So that'll be cool because we'll all get to say hi to each other again. Yay.
Yes.
All right. With that, guys, I am out of here for the night. Join us again next week for the Vixen's Vault. Same bad time, same bad channel. Hopefully the world will still be here. And by the way, the Hormuz Strait will still be open or closed. We'll just have to wait and see because that's how it's playing out. Have a great evening, guys. We'll see you next week.
Good night. Nice to have you, Soma.
Yes, lovely to meet you all. And I would actually like to invite everyone onto my podcast that I do. And also I would like to invite Nancy, just me and Nancy, but I would like to invite everyone and to do like kind of a continuation of this. The time went so quickly.
On this show, it always does.
All right.
Because we get into some
We're
kick-ass
going to run out of
subjects on this
time.
show.
I have to say sorry to everyone.
I am going to host us out.
I've been under a lot of attack this evening, and it's really affected my presentation.
You're fine. You were great.
All
You
right.
actually did really good.
Everybody, we're gonna run out of time, so I'm gonna host
And
us all
Vicky and
out.
Soma, you two need to hook up because you two would do a great interview together because there's so much information there that's in you guys connecting that information. You two definitely need to hook up
All right.
information-wise.
We're gonna host out to the Great Conspiracy folks. We're gonna run out of time here, so.
All right.
Take
Good night,
care,
everybody. I'm jumping off.
All right.
Good night.
Good night, Nancy.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Vicky, night Selma, night Mark Edworthy, night Mark with Josik.
Good night.
Good night,
All right.
everyone.